Magic TV. My name's Craig, and you're about to watch the Fay Presto interview. Now, I have spent a long time editing this. It's currently 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just putting the final edits to this. And I wanted to spend so long editing it because I've got a lot of respect for Fay. And I think this is the longest, deepest dive interview that she's ever done for the Magic community, and I wanted to get it done right. So I spent a long time editing this video. And I've just realised, doing the final edit, that there's something that's missing. I want everyone to see Fay performing so you can see just how good she is. So before the interview starts, I'm going to roll some footage of her performing a simple rope trick that she gave me as part of all of the media she gave me for this interview. I'm going to play that footage first before I actually go into the main interview, because I want you to see just how good Fay is. Guys, this is probably my favourite interview that I've ever done. I hope you enjoy it. Here we are. Let's roll the Fay Presto interview.
Until I got a job as a supply teacher at Hogwarts. Now, I was doing geography, they weren't a bit interested. I don't know why. Do you know what this is? Oh, well, I gave you a clue. It's a Year 7 training exercise from Hogwarts. Have you got any scissors? I'm having to supply everything tonight, aren't I? So I've just got some. Would you like to see my well-known impression of a heron? You're grown now, but you will perform it tomorrow. For this time, I will need 2 pieces of rope. Your job is to cut the rope in half. There. Sorry. In half. Exactly in half. Oh. Tonight, that was enthusiastic but inaccurate. I used to get school reports that said she was enthusiastic but inaccurate. My favourite was some flashes of genius but lacks the pedestrian approach. Yeah. Right, fine. Now, they've got to be the same length tonight, and if we do that, we won't have enough. So, if you wave the wand over there and say, cordus repair, nice and loudly. That's brilliant. Now, that can't possibly work, can it? I mean, that can't possibly, under any circumstances, work. We need to cut this in half, exactly in half. So where is the middle? Trick question. Trick question. Ends. Middle. Well done. Over here, opposite the ends. The middle tonight is always opposite the ends, unless you take the ends off. If the ends come off, you just get middle. The ends as a reference. That's why when you're on a car journey, you are always saying, are we there yet? Because you have no idea where the middle of the journey is, because you only know where the beginning was. When you know it's the end, it's... Right, fine, anyway. So look, I think the middle of the middle is there. If that is true, then the ends would have to be there. This is good stuff. If you don't want them wandering around like that, I suggest you tie them together. That stops them wandering off, see? I'm going to move the rope round in a circle, and I would like you, sir, if you would, to say stop. Stop? So soon. Some chaps are like that. You've just got to go, okay? Can you go like that? Some people can't, but you can. Good. Could you extend your... Yeah, no, well done. Could you extend your arm a little bit? Because tonight I've got to put a spell on those fingers and say, finger Cesario. With the wand, finger Cesario. Cesario. Brilliant. Don't creak your nose for 2 minutes, they're razor sharp. If I lean any further forward, I'll be off this stage. That's it. Yeah, good. Excellent, thank you. This is rather better than I was expecting. Now they have to be the same length. This gentleman has given us a very short piece and a very long piece. How old are you?
7.
7? Crumbs! You only got to pulling things tonight, I say, not for another 9 years. Right, okay. And then this. Could you take those 2 ends? Those two there, hold them tight. No, those two, I've got these two, you need those two. Right, now I'll swap you the scissors for the what. It's very complicated, this magic business. It's all management of things. Right, and you go, cordus elongato. Cordus elongato. That's brilliant, that's brilliant. That is just great technique. I just think that's the best there is. Because now my fingers in this bit, this is fault, but we do it. If you can let those go, but we need to tidy those two up. So if you could just kind of clean those two up a bit. Yeah, right. That's just missed me by a hair's breadth, which is good. No, that's good. We have to sort of saw away. These are, yeah, look, see. I chose them because they were pretty rather than because they were useful. That's a big mistake. Right, can I borrow this again? That's fine. I want to take these two ends. There. And you need a wand, which goes there. And you wave that there and you say, cordus reparo. Cordus reparo. That's the important bit, really. Yeah, well done. I'm pleased with the way it's going so far. We have to recycle these. We are in a borough called Camden, and if they turn up in the broken glass, they go nuts. We have to separate them, so we're going to recycle these. You put those there like that, and you go, cordus reparo.
Cordus reparo.
I thought you said
Guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock and it's time for a Talk Magic. And I am sitting down today with an absolute legend. And I do not use that word lightly. A legend of magic and somebody who I have looked up to for so long. So glad that we've got her on the channel. Yes, you, Fay Presto, the one and only. Fay, genuinely, I can't tell everyone how excited I am to do this interview. Thank you so much.
What have I done to deserve this reputation? That's what I want to know.
You know what? When I started this YouTube channel, I had a bucket list of people that I wanted to invite on to do an interview with, and you were right at the top. And I remember I reached out to you just before Christmas, and I was like, Fay, would you like to do an interview with me for my channel? And you were like, yes. And I was like, over the moon, like genuinely, because you have had such a massive impact. I know you're very humble in many ways, but you have had a massive impact on the industry. And you know, I was chatting just beforehand with Henry, and both him and I said you are the greatest close-up magician in the world. There's no two ways about it. No one does it better than you.
Stop this! For goodness
sake. I've got it out my system now. I've got it out my system. Look. Let's start. I can't imagine anyone who hasn't heard of Fay Presto, but let's start at the very beginning. It feels like you've been in magic for a very long time. When did the bug bite? When did you first discover magic, or when did magic discover you?
Well, it was to be a means to an end. I'd had a career in heavy in commercial selling, and I'd been a laboratory assistant and all sorts of things, and none of them had really fired me. And then I reached a point where I had to do something fairly drastic about changing my life, and I thought that one of the things I might do, funnily enough at this precise moment in time, I would saw a man in half, because I thought there'd be enough people on the planet who would want to see that at least once to keep me gainfully employed. So I was going to do big illusions. I'd liked David Nixon. I loved watching David Nixon. He was such an avuncular sort of chap. And he had this love, and I wanted to be Anita Harris, really, but I knew that I was not going to be getting in any illusions anytime soon, because I was well past the age where one can easily do that. So I thought, well, in that case, I'll saw a man in half. I won't have to talk to anybody. I'll just come on with a bit of music, saw someone in half, everybody would be impressed, I'd go home. And really thought that was going to happen. So I apprenticed myself to a pair of fire eaters. Used to go to, there was this really scurrilous nightclub in Charing Cross called Heaven. And there were a couple of, and everybody used to crowd down to the front and watch the show. And there were these two fire eaters, and they had lots of amazing lights and smoking machines going on. I mean, it wasn't just eating fire. They were. This was a titanic struggle for the possession of fire. And Mark would pull. Patty would jump on Mark's back and ram fire rods down his throat, and he'd grab her by the hair and drag her across the stage and ram them down her throat. It was, and there was there was lights, there was smoke, there was all the sorts of things that I felt I would need if I'm going to saw someone in half, because that's the way it's done, isn't it? With all smoke and all sorts of stuff going on. So I thought I would. So I knocked on their dressing room door and I said, "How does this business work?" Because I had no idea how it worked. I've been a sales rep, you know. I've been Mrs. Ordinary. So they said, "Have you got a van?" And I said, "Well, I've got access to one," because at the time I was working as a courier. And they said, "Well, you're our roadie." And I roaded for them for about 6 months. That was a problem because during the day I was working as a courier. So I had to be at work at 9 o'clock on the radio telling them where I was. You know, I'm ready for work. And they were sitting in the bar unwinding until 3 o'clock in the morning. And I thought, crumbs, if I get this thing together, I'm going to have to unwind in the bar. And if I'm unwinding in the bar, someone will say, "Well, you're a magician, do something with that," and pass across a salt cellar or an anything. So I thought I'd better learn some silly little tricks to unwind in the bar after I had done my show. I found I was being invited to a lot of parties, and I found people were clapping. And then I thought, well, if they're going to invite me and they're going to clap, I might pay. And so silly little tricks like salt across and a rope routine were obviously a hook, and that took over, and I never did become an illusionist.
Okay, I've got to address a rumor that I've heard about you, and this has been said to me all through my career. Is it true that you used to do restaurant magic, taking an illusion around with you at some point?
Well, a long time ago, I made a documentary, 40 minutes for the BBC. And we thought then it might be interesting because, you know, when you've got a television crew following you around and they are the BBC and you've got this whole thing going, I thought it'd be fun. And I'd got a zigzag because I'd bought some illusions for when I sawed a man in half. And so I had a zigzag in the garage. So I thought, well, we'll take this down to Langan's and I will train a waiter to get in the zigzag. So then we're filming. I got Charlie dance at a table, and I was like, you know, would you like to see this? Would you like to see something a bit bigger? And he said, oh yes, I'd like to see something a bit bigger. So I went and pushed this zigzag halfway down the restaurant, and I put Scott the waiter in it, and we cut him into 3 pieces, and it's in the 40 minutes documentary. The funny thing was that about 4 weeks after we finished filming and we'd wrapped up, I was sitting in Langan's and I thought, bugger, I forgot to take the zigzag home. We're still sitting in the corner of the bar. So I'm doing a table right down by the bookcase, which is right at the other end of the restaurant. And I went, oh, I'd done it at the top end early on, put Scott in it. So later, second sitting, would you like to see it a bit big? Yes, we would. So I pushed this zigzag the whole length of the restaurant, all the way down. Stopped tables, got people standing up, got it down to the bottom of the restaurant. I threw the doors open and I went, where's Scott? And they went, he's gone home. Now I'm in a certain amount of trouble because you do need, there was only one other person in the restaurant who knows how the zigzag worked. And that was me. So I got in it and I talked one of the diners through doing it. So I said, on the top, I'm in the zigzag. And I said this bloke, look, on the top, you'll find a big blade. See that blade? Get it down. And I talked him through the whole process. And when it came to pulling the drawer out, I said, right, now go around the side and pull that handle out. And he said, I can't. I said, why not? He said, it will kill you. And it was one of the best presentations of an illusion I've ever done. And that includes sawing Baron Crashman in half and all sorts of other things. But it was that moment when he said, where's Scott? He's gone home.
talk about thinking on your feet. Good grief. That's amazing.
I've been quite good at that over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I don't have a good memory, but by God, I can work things out fast.
And that's something that I want to talk to you about. As we get into the interview, I want to talk to you about that, because it is an ability that you've got. You've got that whole show must go on. You know, it must be that you're thinking about a million things at once. But I watched you do that, where you just literally, well, the perfect example is using the zigzag and getting getting a diner to do it. That's just, who else would think
if I was doing a show like that, if I was thin enough and slim enough now, I would do that, because it's great, because it's all about, everything in this business is about audience reaction. If there is no audience reaction, you have not got a show. That's why I'm useless at this Zoom business, because I need the reaction. People say to me before I'm going on sometimes, what are you going to say? I say, well, I don't really know until I find out what they want to listen to. And when I get it to a table, yeah, I have a series of bits. It's called repartee. Now, the only stage school I ever had was a thing called the Players Theatre, which was a Victorian music hall that used to run under the arches in Charing Cross. And my dad loved it. And it was the family treat was to go to their pantomime, which was a very Victorian pantomime. And they had a chairman with a hammer. It was like the good old days, but this was much more authentic. And there were two intervals. There was the first half, the second half, and the third half. How can you have three halves? Well, you have all these bits, right? And he would entertain the audience while they came back with their drinks. And have we got any visitors from abroad? And people put their hands up and say, yes, we're from Australia. And, oh, Australia, we have to ask you the question. And then the whole audience of people who knew what the show was about would chant as one, how does it feel to be the right way up? And everybody fell about laughing. No, they didn't. But this was repartee. Now, if there were no Australians in the audience, you couldn't say, have we got any Australians in the audience? No. Well, how does it feel? You use lines that fit the moment. And the beauty of our business is we get into the same position so many times. I always talk about, we all wear, I totter about on shoes with nice heels on them. And a number of times, you never get a proper stage to work on. It's something that you built out of orange boxes, or you're standing on a seat or something. And at some stage, the heel of your shoe goes through the stage. And the first time it happens, and you got to get down on your hands and knees and pull the damn thing out. What do you do while all that's going on? Well, the first time it happens, you're covered in embarrassment and you leave the stage to the sound of your own feet. Then you're sitting in a cafe or a bar afterwards talking to people and saying, oh, the terrible thing happened tonight. I got stuck to it. And somebody said, well, didn't you use the line? And you go, what line? And they say, well, don't mind me. It's just a stage I'm going through. So the next time it happens, and it does, you're getting it. You got to the dressing room and you go, I should have used that line. And then the next time you're nearly on, and then it starts hitting. This is something that the French call l'esprit d'escalier. It's an interesting thing. In Paris, all the salons where witty conversation took place were on the first floor. If you dug a basement in Paris, it would flood. So the staff had the ground floor with the kitchens and all this, and all the elegant people were on the first floor. So you'd be up there jousting verbally with your bête noire who was going to give you a really tough time. And as you were leaving, going down the stairs, you'd go, damn, I know what I should have said. I should have said that. Now, the beauty with our business is you get in that stage 3, 4, 5, 7 times. And eventually, l'esprit d'escalier kicks in and those lines come out all the time. And it's the same way that you reply to hecklers, and it's the same way that you deal with a trick when it goes wrong. Of course, you're all over the place the first time it goes wrong, but the third time it goes wrong, you nailed it.
It's like that old expression, isn't it? It's okay to fail, but you want to fail forwards. You want to, always learn from, what's happening. And
make a mistake all the time. But fortunately, there's enough inertia so that you don't sort of go, oh, I failed, I'll never do it again. There's enough inertia to keep you going so that the next time it happens, you can not only maybe not fail, but if you do, you can turn it to advantage. all of those lovely lines, you know, that you have stacked up in the back of your head, just pop out. And you know, that's, I can't think of any of them at the moment, but I would think of them if something happened, it would be there. And l'esprit d'escalier, the spirit of the stairs, is that, and all these, you keep reading online about, you know, how do I get out and perform? How do I get over my nerves? Well, you muppet, you get over the nerves by getting over them. You go and do it. And it's awful to start with, and then it gets easier. I mean, the first thing I ever did was a gong show at the Camden Palace. Because I wanted to find out if I could get on a stage and not go into, because everybody talks about, oh, I'm so nervous before a show, I get really wound up before them. Well, I didn't want that. If I'm going to have to live being all nervous, I think people only say it to make them look brave. But I didn't want, if I was going to go into a blind funk every time I got on a stage, I'd do something else. So I put together a 4-minute act. I went in for this gong show and I put together a 4-minute act, because I went to one of the early shows and it was at least 5 minutes before the audience got restless and gonged someone off. So if I do a 4-minute act, I'll get through it. And I did. And it wasn't great, but I got in the final and it was doable. It wasn't wonderful. I didn't, you know, it wasn't like, oh, this is going to be fab, but it was doable. So I could then push through that and get on with what I was going to do and put this soaring in half illusion together, which never really happened, because the close-up took over.
And that's what I want to get back to. So you were convinced that you were going to be doing a soaring in half. You've bought loads of illusions.
No, I hadn't bought loads of illusions. I've got about 2. How I was going, one of them I built in the garage. I built an early head off.
Oh yeah.
Which sort of worked. And I had a, when you open the doors, there was this sort of horrible rubbery skull in there that was, I set fire to the thing. There was flames shooting out the top. And you open the door at the front and the assistant's head had turned into this sort of rubbery skull with smoke coming out of it. It wasn't great, but it showed me that illusion's not, when the close-up started to arrive, I realized that was a much more saleable thing. Nobody was doing it. It didn't exist.
And that's the point. We're talking about, of course, anybody who's watching this channel that's relatively new to magic, they probably can't get this concept. But back in the day, everything was all about stage magic. It wasn't so much about close-up. You pioneered close-up in the UK. You were one of the very first people that was going out and doing it. And
well, take Alan Shaxson, for instance. He was a first-class cabaret performer.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to be a professional magician, you had to do kids shows. All you could do. You would do kids shows, and every now and then would come a lovely cabaret, and you'd get your dicky bow out, and you'd go down to the Stork Club or wherever and do your cabaret. And the only way to be a full-time professional magician was to do kids shows and cabaret, and then stage. That was the route. Now, society changed around the 80s. People in the 60s and 70s, if you were going to go out for the night, you'd go to the cinema, and if you were lucky, you'd wind up in a coffee bar. That was it. People really didn't go out for a meal. And when they did start going out for a meal, they didn't have a clue what they were going to talk about. So somebody coming round to the table seemed like a very good idea, and indeed it was, but there was nobody else doing it. That was, I couldn't understand why nobody else was doing it. And there was this the show called Why went on at the Piccadilly Theatre. It was Arturo Brachetti, and he was, what they did was they turned the Piccadilly Theatre into a French floor show. It was all on the stage. There were amazing things going on, and Arturo was one of the principal acts who held it all together. Sebastian Coe's sister came on and did the most brilliant reverse striptease you've ever seen in your life. She came on buck naked and got dressed. It was so sexy, it wasn't true. So there was all this going on, but Arturo was on. And because I was sort of hanging out with some of the dancers from the Erdang Institute who used to hang about in Covent Garden and the Piazza, they were all dancing in the show, and I got handfuls of tickets. It was being papered. So I was very popular with some magicians because I could get them into this amazing West End show for free because they were anxious to get some bums on seats. You'd watch the show, and then they'd taken out all the theatre seats and put tables and chairs in. And so it was like a French restaurant thing. But of course, as soon as the show was over, everybody left. So I said to the mates, well, somebody should go round and do some tricks then, because they've had a bit of magic. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, I could do this. And I picked up a salt cellar and did salt across, poured the salt into one hand, disappeared it, came back over there. And he said, oh, that would be good. So I said, do you know anybody? And what an idiot I was. I said, yes, Malcolm can do that. And I gave the job to some guy. And then I found out he was never turning up. So I said to the director friend of mine, what shall I do? He said, you idiot, go and put your frock on, go and stand at the box office. If he doesn't turn up, you're on. And that's precisely what happened. He didn't turn up. So I went in, and I only had I had sort of across a strip. I had a brainwave deck, piece of rope. I had almost nothing, but they were clapping and loving it. And I lasted about 3 weeks, and I got the sack because magicians should be men. And the girls all the dancers in the show, never mind, love, you can come round the gaslights. What's the gaslight? Well, it's a club we work in, and I'm sure you go down well there. So I went round to the Gaslight Club, was a clip joint in St James's. It's still there. And these girls used to sit there with a pair of knickers on and a wisp of chiffon in the bar, and gentlemen would come in and say, I'll have that one. And they'd go through into the dance floor where people would come on and take their clothes off and sashay about and stuff. And they thought it'd be a really good idea if I did some of this magic that I've been doing at the Piccadilly Theatre in there. The girls liked it because it gave them a break from the groping. So they'd then go, give her a tip. I came out there with more money than I'd seen in a week. And a clip joint is where, the girl sits with the guys and then they chat, and the girl's job is to get them to buy them a box of chocolates, which is actually a block of wood wrapped in a Cadbury's Dairy Milk box, or a bottle of champagne, which is actually ginger beer in a champagne bottle. Now, these guys are paying a fortune for it. That's why it's called a clip joint. And the girls were not allowed to go home with the gentlemen. Of course they weren't. Well, they did. But I was just doing the magic, and it gave them 10 minutes off from the groping. So that I came out there with a big handful of money. And the next thing that was going to happen was that the management saw I was getting the tips, and I knew they were going to stop paying me because I was getting all £30 a night. So and I knew they were going to start. So I left, and now the Hippodrome had opened, which was the world's craziest disco. It was an extraordinary place. And I went round, and they had a bloke standing outside on an orange box with a mirror. And he'd pick people and say, yes, you can go in, you can go in, you can go in, and hold the mirror. Would you let you in? No, go away. And they would only let people in who had amazing images and stuff. And I went in wearing the sort of outfit that I'd cobbled together. And I went up to Peter Stringfellow and said, I can do this. And he said, Mondays and Thursdays. And that led to the Star Bar, and the Star Bar led to Eric Clapton's 40th birthday party. And it just spun out of control from there, went nuts.
So there's a couple of things I want to pick up on there before we move on. And the first is, when you first started going out doing close-up magic, you didn't really have much. You had a brainwave deck, you had this, and you went out and you did it. Magicians these days, you see it on forums all the time. I've spent 15 years practicing, and I don't think I'm ready to do my first gig. It's like I'm not going to be able to go and do a gig unless I've learned 15 different variations of the pass. Like,
mate, you do another 15 years. Get on with it. Brilliant. Yeah, I don't think you're quite good at that undercut double pass. You need to know another couple of years. Stay out of the business.
But it's true, and I think that something that magicians need to learn from listening to this interview, which is if you want to go out and you actually want to get work, and you want to go out and get paid work, you've just got to go out and do it. And that's what you did. You didn't.
The magicians, they're the worst. And honestly, magicians don't know. Most of them don't know how. Of course they do. Of course Williamson does. Of course the Great do. Of course Tom Mulligan. All the big names know what they're doing. but it's all this. I know I see it time and again, and you think, why are you doing this? Now I understand that there is now a bit of a market for it because we've got a much more sophisticated audience, really, but if you go back to the 80s, there was nothing like that going on, and I learned my lessons there. It's people. It's about, if there's no wow, there's no, what's the point being there? And I've never, it's funny, there was a question a little while ago, is where do you get the best close-up mat? I've never had a close-up mat in my life. I wouldn't know what to do with one. The only close-up mat I've got is that 5-top table. Because and it's ever so funny because you look at in the West End, table space is costs a fortune. Where are you going to put the bloody thing down? Where are you going to put it? And anyway, nothing happens on the table because it's full of stuff. So it all happens in this space. So you've got to work in this space. You've got to get into this space. You've got to hook them and get them in and get them involved. Get in, get them laughing, get out.
So when did you, there's certain tricks that are iconic with you as a close-up performer. Bottle through table, cigarette through coin. Those two tricks that I think of when I think of Fay Presto. When did they hit your act? Was it way down the line or?
This place called Blackpool. And there was a little cluster of people. I'd never been to a convention. I went wearing the stage frock. I turned up in the limo. Hair and everything. I thought everybody was going to be walking around in blue capes and sort of done up like clowns and stuff. And it was going to be so exciting. And I walked in. Did I look an idiot? And there was this cluster of people around the stand. And I said, what's going on there? What's going on there? I said, it's just cigarette £3 coin. It's what? It's cigarette £3 coin. Show me. I saw this cigarette disappear. It was Eddie Gibson's stand. And I saw that and I thought, crumbs. That's brilliant. I made more money out pushing cigarettes £3 coins than enough. And because I could see, because I hadn't studied magic for years and years, and I didn't know anything about magic, and Bobby Bernard had told me not to bother, and all of those sorts of things. I went, I could have that. And so for years, I used to push cigarettes through pound coins. Then I used to roll up £20 notes and push them through pound coins. And then I went to, I think it was San Diego, because I'd been to a couple of British conventions. And I thought, hey, this is terrible. What is going on here? I'll go to America and see, they must do it properly. So I went to an IBM convention in San Diego. It was the same crap. And it wasn't really very good. Okay, there were a couple of big names, but most of it was not great. I'm sorry, but it wasn't. And as I was leaving the room on the last day, I saw on top of a shelf Norm Nielsen's Bottle Through Table. Now, when I had been doing a bunch of, the sort of thing that was happening was, somebody would think it's a really good idea if we're going to have a dinner dance, will you come and do magic around the tables? They think it'd be great. So you do 10 tables in the course of the evening. And I would look up from the last table and there would be 100 people standing around this table. And at the other end of the room, there were waiters walking around with trays going, do you want this? So I thought, Bottle Through Tables, if I've got 100 people watching, this is Bottle Through Tables got to be better, hasn't it? It's got to be fantastic. And there is this lovely picture of a bottle halfway through a table, which is exactly what you get with cigarette through pound coin. When you've pushed a cigarette through a pound coin, you go, look, it's halfway through, isn't it, people? So I thought, it's going to be amazing. So I bought it, $15, got it back to the hotel room. It wouldn't work. That's never going to work. The way it's written down, you sit at a table, you have somebody sitting to your left, you have somebody sitting to your right, and you go through the motion. What? There's no room for that. You can't sit at the table. You can't get somebody to stand. You can't do that. And then suddenly, bang, it all fell into place, and I realized just how you could do it. And the rest is sort of history. The funny thing about it is that a number of times I've taught it, I've tried to teach people and they don't get it. And I don't understand why that is. And now I have pushed bottles through I've pushed bottles through a tray held by 2 waiters in the middle of a room. At one stage with the Champions of Magic, there was a fire alarm went off and we're all standing out in the street. And I got 2 of the heavies to hold an 8-year-old girl by her head, by her legs and her shoulders, and push the bottle through her, and all sorts of things. It's a brilliant, brilliant trick. I do not understand why people can't pick up the rhythm for it. They have to hold it. Why are they holding it between their knees, for God's sake? The timing's wrong. You pull your finger out of the top. You can't. It just doesn't work. And yet it's the simplest thing. It's really strange.
It's simple, but it's so like the amount of gigs that I've been to, and I've had people say to me, "Oh, we met this person at this gig called Fay," and or they might not even say your name. They say, "Oh, there's this amazing magician that pushed a bottle." The amount I could do my best stuff, and people will always come up to me and say, "Oh yeah, but can you do this thing that we saw this person do?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, Fay, there again."
The way the solution came to me was, I thought, I can hide that bottle. These will hide that bottle beautifully, right? Because there's a shelf there. It never occurred to me that actually, especially the low cut frock, this is the focus of everybody's attention. And I'm clipping the bottle between here and the table. So actually, technically, they're all staring at it from all angles. They don't see it because of the geometry of it. And so it is now clipped here, not, I mean, see, I'm sure blokes can't do this trick because you have to kneel down in front of your audience. And that puts them into a slightly subservient position. It's a position of weakness. Their eye line is now below the eye line of the people sitting at the table. Oh dear, can't do that. Now I've lost my power. So there's that. And I don't mind. That's the other funny thing. They dress it up in all sorts of things that, well, of course, it'll ruin the knees of my trousers. I go, okay, I'm not worried about the knees of my tights. I'm not worried about that. Of course I am. But in my book, it's the only way to do it. Yeah. So now they've got the thing pinched between their knees or something. They've got no balance. They've got no center. They've got no stability. They're wobbling all over the place. All they want to do is drop the bottle as quickly as possible because their knees are hurting. I don't know what's going on down there. No idea what's going on down there. But when you kneel down in front of your audience, they're mine. It's, like in the bullfight when the matador has finally got the bull bug completely shattered, turns around. Yeah. And I feel it's a bit like that with the bottle. I've got this audience eating out of my hand. I've got them absolutely, they're mine. I can do what I like now. I can lie down. I do whatever I like. The number of times I've cleared everything off a table and laid one of the girls down on the table and pushed the bottle through her and the table. Because this is my audience. We love each other. We know each other. We trust each other. We've had a nice time with each other. Now let's have some fun. And so, and the beauty of clipping it here is all you have to do is lean back and it goes. And so, you pull your finger out and lean back at the same time. The time it takes to fall and hit the floor is exactly right. And otherwise you can't do it. You take your finger out the top and then you open it. It's not going to work. First time I ever did it with a girl was I was doing a stage show and I laid a girl out on the grand piano and pushed it through her and the grand piano, and Harry, my pianist, was playing away and having a conversation with her. It was hysterically funny. It's a great trick. Honestly, that's why people say, you're nothing if you can't do that trick.
It's amazing. It really is. It really is. Okay, so you're doing close up. You've just talked about how you've gone from this place to this place to this place. It's fair to say that your career is gaining momentum. You talked about doing Peter Stringfellow's 40th birthday.
Oh, Eric Clapton's 40th.
Eric Clapton's 40th. Sorry. That's like huge. Magicians are always looking for opportunities to perform for celebrities. Mainly because they want that moment where they can get the selfie, right? But you've performed for so many celebrities over the years.
But I've got almost no pictures.
So what's your secret, though? I mean, what's the secret?
The secret is that I've got no pictures. The secret is that if you want to have your, I mean, I've got a picture of me with Dusty Springfield, and we both look completely wrecked. We both had a tough night. But look, I'm busy entertaining. Then I'm not busy getting one for the. My CV speaks for itself. You know, I mean, it's enough that the bookers who are going to book me know that my CV speaks for itself. I don't have the ego trip of, oh, this is me with the Prince of Wales, this is me with the Princess of Wales, this is me with the Queen. I've got those anyway. I've been there, done it. But one of the reasons that I get the gigs, or got the gigs when they were out there, was because they trust me. They know that they're not going to turn up in the wrong place. Somewhere I've got a picture of me doing a rope trick for Harry Potter. You know? And it's so rare. I've lost it. I don't know where it is. It was in one of the colour supplements. I've never found it again. And there's Danny Ratcliffe, and I'm showing Harry Potter a rope trick. But I think it's a big mistake to start draping yourself around. All these people having girls rushing off and screaming. No, what gets you more work is good work. Work begets work. And in those occasions where work has fallen right off, right, do a few for nothing. Let's get out there.
Because one thing that I've always noticed is you are always busy performing. No matter what, no matter when, you're always really busy performing, aren't you? I mean, I mean, maybe over the course of the last few months, it's a totally different thing. But throughout your entire career, you've always been busy, and you've always been out there, and people have always seen you, and you've always been visible.
Working for buttons, but work. Because the one thing that gets you work is work. You can have the most wonderful website. You can have all sorts of stuff. You can go to as many wedding fairs as you like. Doesn't matter. What gets you work is work. A good business card and a good product, and it will spin off. I never made it to the Derren Brown level, and I never made it to the Dynamo level. There were reasons for that, but no, it's good work makes good work, and get the best restaurant you can. So there's another interesting thing. People say, how do you get how do you get a residency? We're going to ask for it. And it was when I was selling, I was taught that you are always accepted in an organization at the level at which you're introduced. So if you go into a restaurant and impress a waiter, and then he gets his duty manager, and he gets the regional manager, and then he gets the owner in, you're a waiter, right? And all of those people can sack you. I want to be put in by the bloke who owns the restaurant, and then none of those people can sack you. When the Ned opened, the Ned is an extraordinary place. People who don't live in London won't necessarily know about it. It's the old Midland Bank that was the Mary Poppins Bank, where Mr. Banks worked. And of course, there's no call for a bank that size. There's no call for hundreds of clerks cancelling checks and stuff. It's all done. So they've got this huge stone building in the middle of the city of London. What the hell are they going to do with it? Turn it into flats? No. They've decided they've turned it into, there are 8 restaurants on the ground floor. There are 200 hotel rooms. There is a nightclub down in the safe downstairs. There's a membership club on the roof. There's a full-size gym with a full-size boxing rink in it, and all sorts of stuff. It's an extraordinary place. And when I heard that it was opening, I went and camped there for about a week, until the man who was overseeing the project, called Nick Jones, who is the founder of Soho House, was in there. I didn't ask anybody else in that organisation for the job, but as soon as Nick Jones was in there, I went up to him and I said, Mr. Jones, I've got some very good news for you. And he said, what is it? I said, I am now your resident magician. And he said, that's a good idea. And I've been there ever since. But now, it's not impossible that I will get sacked. It's very unlikely, because Nick put me in. So it's unlikely that I've got to do something very stupid.
But you've got to have, I mean, guts of, wow, to go up to like the main man and just say, hey, good news, you've got your resident magician. I mean, most magicians wouldn't even dream about going down that route. Wow.
Now, one of the things that I do, I do sort of restored note. You know, I do note to anywhere. At the moment, I'm using Kieran's note to Kit Kat. Very powerful trick. When I started doing it, I did it to a sort of a locked box somewhere with a key, and you tear you tear one of the numbers off the note, and you give it back to somebody to hang on to, and then you destroy the other half of the note, and it winds up in the other half of the note winds up in the box. And I've got a job to do at Ascot, and it's I turn up at Ascot. I'm told it's somebody quite important, and they want a bit of stand up. And I turn up, and this bloke comes out. He says, "Oh, I'm so glad you've arrived. Her Majesty is in there having dinner with her friends, and then they're going to dinner, and they're going to come through into this room, and you will entertain them for half an hour with some close-up magic, with some magic." And I said, well, actually, the way it works is that I go in between the courses round the tables." And it's, well, I said, well, last time I met Her Majesty, it was that way, and it seemed to go quite well. I said, well, on your head be it then. So I go and do that bit, and then they all come through into the room where we're going to do the stand-up bit. And I haven't thought this through, because I borrowed the £10 note from one of the flunkies, and I look at Her Majesty, who's sitting about as far away as you are now, and I suddenly realised the trick involves tearing right through her portrait on the £10 note. So I just looked, I said, I'm terribly sorry, ma'am, I have to do this, rip. Now, she thought it was very funny, you know, and so she gives the money back, and it turns up in this locked box. So it's another one of those things. When you've done these things, you can do these things. To any one of us, the thought of doing a television series is the most terrifying thing in the world. You know, how does Darren Brown do it? How can he? Well, once you've done it, and there are others to come. So all of these things, you do them by doing them. And the first few times you screw up. Nothing like failure to fire the thing. So if you've torn through the Queen's portrait, I got one to do in, I don't know, way up north. Some bloke's opening a hotel, and he's paid an awful lot of money to one of the charities supported by the Princess Royal. So he's got her to come round and open it. Obviously, the price for cutting the ribbon for his hotel is that he makes a substantial donation to her pet charity. That's how it works. I am absolutely shattered. I've been 10 days in Florida with 200 seriously ill children, entertaining them on and off the rides. It's like 2 of the hardest weeks' work you'll ever do in your life. You come back absolutely completely cream-crackered. And my idiot agent has booked me in to do this hotel opening the next night after getting back. So I've put a driver on. I've slept all the way up there. I'm wrecked. And I get through, the tables went well, and the Princess Royal is sitting there. And I get to the point where I'm going to do the torn and restored newspaper. And there's there's a story I tell about that. And it's to do with, you know, my niece Eleanor is 7, and how's it go? It's a joke that winds up with I was going to give her a Christmas present. What would you like for your birthday? And she said, I'd like a Barbie doll and an action man. And I said, I think you'll find that Barbie comes with Ken. And she said, no, she doesn't, Auntie. She can't. She fakes it with Ken. She comes with Action Man. Now, this is the joke that I tell when I'm tearing up the newspaper. I've got the Princess Royal sitting there, and I'm going, I'm so tired, I can't think of a clean joke. Well, you've got to keep going now. So, my niece said it. She doesn't fake it with kids. Now, the bloke whose hotel it is has got a face like thunder. He's so... The Princess Royal is having a really good time. She thought it was a very funny joke. So I said, and that was when it popped into my head. I said, I am so sorry, sir. I'm so sorry, ma'am. But it does look as if the man sitting next to you really doesn't think I should have told a joke like that in front of you. And I'm so sorry, I didn't realise it was your turn. Now, once you've done that and you realise these people are human beings, we're only dealing with human beings, you know, so go and ask for the job. Don't get the waiter. Don't get the area man. Ask the bloke at the top, because he's the one who's going to say yes. And as long as you've impressed him, so you've got to maneuver yourself into a position where that person is there. That's what I say. I sat at the Ned for a week, waiting for this bloke to turn up. He was obviously going to be there at some stage. And as soon as he was, yes, I was terrified. Yes, I was frightened. I wanted this space like you wouldn't believe. But you have to go and ask for it. If you don't ask for it, it's not going to happen, is it?
That is brilliant advice. That is honestly that brilliant advice.
I mean, I did a penguin lecture in Chicago, in Columbus, and I'd done the Chicago Magic Lounge, and I decided to drive to Columbus, so I rented a nice car, and I'd been in the best restaurant in Columbus about half an hour, and I'd have had a gig, because you talk to people, you chat to people. I turned up and I rented a very nice car. It was a Chrysler Camargue or something. I mean, it was a serious muscle car. I had to get a convertible because I couldn't get the table couldn't get my close-up table in the back of anything else. And I've got pictures of this car with the table sticking in the back. It was a great drive. And but you've got to ask for these things. And I chatted to the waiter, but I wouldn't have asked him for a job. But what are you doing here? Oh, I'm here to do I'm doing this lecture around the corner. Really? Yeah, I do this. And he went and got his manager. I do this. But I didn't ask any of those for the job. I was just showing them some stuff. It wasn't until the bloke who owned the restaurant came up that I'd have asked him for a job. I wouldn't have asked any other ones for a job.
Yeah. So before we get back onto your career, once you've got the job, how do you keep it? Like,
by being good at what you do, and by listening to the people who are there and making sure they have a good time, and not showing them what I want to. Again, it comes back to that line: what are you going to say? I don't know until I find out what they want to listen to, and you listen to what people are saying and how they are, and. Well, I don't. How do you answer this question? That's an impossible question to answer, isn't it? You do what you do, and you watch it. If their eyes glaze over, you do something else. You don't keep banging on with, oh, this is the best. This is the best any card at any number that you've ever seen in your life, or this is the best 4-ace assembly or anything. If they're going glaze off, stick a ball through the frigging table. Or whatever it is that they want to see. Yeah. You have to feel them. You have to feel them out. I was terrified, having got this close-up business running. How do you get on a stage?
Yeah.
That's, okay.
And I was going to come to that, because the thing is, I know you said that you moved from stage to close-up because there were more opportunities there.
I didn't even get on the stage, really. I did enough to know that that was going to be difficult, but I didn't sort of. It wasn't that I consciously moved from stage to close-up. It was that I realised there was a market for doing the small stuff.
But you do a lot of stage work, so at some point you transitioned back onto stage, or
I live for it. I can't tell you how much I want to be on a stage.
Yeah,
you've got to be realistic. If I tried to do as much stage as I could, I would starve. Because, and one of the reasons is the gender trap and the gender barrier, and another one of the reasons is my age, and they want glamorous young things to get on stage and stuff, and you've got to have been there from there, and you're allowed to grow old, but you can't be old when you get on stage. The opportunities to get on a stage are very rare. I've got to eat. And I've got to pay the rent and that. So, but I love it. I cannot, there's nothing like it to go out on a stage in front of 1,000, 1,500 people. It is just amazing. And it's a terrible drug to get hooked on. But you've got to eat in the meantime. So I can't be proud about it. And anyway, I love doing close-up. I love being with people, chatting to, it's just, but I want to show them what they want to see. I don't want to show them what I want to show them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So what advice would you give a close-up magician that wants to transition to stage work? Because I get these questions all the time on this channel. I'm a close-up magician. How do I work on stage? How?
Okay, well, when you go to a table, right, there's the one over there who's getting a bit bored. There's the one over there who's trying to get his hand down the front of his girlfriend's dress. There's the one over here who's bored out of their crust. This one has got a rude sense of you. And you play those people. And I discovered, or I think it's right, that you get exactly the same thing in an audience. But instead of, you know, the one who's trying to get down the front of his girlfriend's dress sitting there, they're there, and there. And the one who wants to be the life and soul of the party is there, and there. And it's exactly the same deal, but they're scattered all over the place. And that audience that you get at a table, in my book, is exactly the same audience that you get in a huge room, but they're scattered around the place. And that's what I thought, and that's the way it appeared to me. And now I have no stage training. I've never been to drama school. The nearest I got to a drama school was the Victorian Music Hall that my dad loved, and the Players Theatre, where, you know, that was the nearest I've ever got to it. And that's my sort of character. But I did know that there is a right side and a wrong side to come on stage from. Didn't know what it was. So I phoned up a friend who said, I said, which side should I come on from? I'm coming on from the back at that corner over there. He said, no, come on from that corner over there, and don't come on from the corner, come on from the front, get to the microphone as quickly as possible. Show, I did that, and wow, yes, that works. Of course it does. But I didn't have that stage training. I didn't have the stage training of this is how you project, all of those sorts of things. And the reality of it is that you don't go out in front of 1,000 people first. If you do, you're going to get into trouble. I started by going out in front of 20 people, and then 30 people, and then 40 people, and then 50 people. And I remember the first time I ever saw the safety curtain go up. We arrived in this place in Scotland, I think it was in Aberdeen or somewhere. No. Can't remember, but it was this big theatre, and we go through the back door, and somebody presses a button, and up goes the iron, and Jesus Christ. That's all right, I've done 500, this is only 3 times that, we can manage. It's nearly it, but if you're going to go out in front of 1,000 people, Darren Brown didn't start going out in front of 2,000 people. I was the first person to put Darren Brown on stage in front of a bunch of magicians.
Really?
Yeah, IBM convention years and years ago, because I used to run this fringe thing.
I was going to bring that up. I remember you running the fringe. It was brilliant.
Yeah, well, I thought so. They didn't. The IBM thought it was terrible. But where's the fun? Why are all these people who run magic organisations got no sense of fun? Where's their sense of fun? There isn't any. And why have they all had a hospitality bypass? Come on, people. This is. You're supposed to be supplying fun. That's what we do. You can hate Disney, you can hate everything about it, but crumbs, they've studied how to deliver fun. And if you're not delivering, okay, you can deliver drama and all sorts of things, and magicians can do that. But first, you've got to be entertaining. And so I decided there wasn't much fun going on at an IBM convention, and it'd be nice to have a fringe and do some stuff that was fun. My big problem is I was never very good at entertaining magicians. And yet I felt I had something that magicians needed to know. Now, how do I get that to a convention? I mean, the first convention I have ever been booked for, the first decent sized convention I was ever been booked for, was Blackpool 3 years ago. Never been asked to do a convention. Yeah, little local ones, yeah, fine, sure, I'll do those. But none of the big ones ever didn't want to give me any space at all, because magicians don't want to know what I know, apparently, according to the convention organisers. So I thought it would be fun with the IBM to have a fringe. My plan was to have all of the people from the town sort of in front of the stage, And then at bleachers at the back would be the magicians. And the magicians, if they had any sense, could watch what the people on the stage were doing to the people at the front.
Yeah.
That was the plan. It never kind of came out like that, but that was the concept that I wanted to get going. So that, I mean, okay, this is very flattering to be doing this, but most magicians don't really get what I get. They don't understand. In fact, I always feel that there's this feeling that she must be doing something, she must be buying them or something, because she doesn't know any magic. She doesn't, she hasn't studied. Her card handling's terrible. So there is, I think, a sort of a degree of resentment creeps in.
Yeah, I agree.
Where they go, well, she's cheating. And so it's always saddened me that magicians don't get me. They don't understand.
But the bottom line is, and again, I don't want to wax lyrical on you like I did at the beginning, but you have had a career that most magicians would dream of in their wildest dreams. They can't imagine having the opportunities that you've had, performing for the people that you've performed for, doing the things that you've done. So anybody who looks at you and, well, it's true though, isn't it? But anybody who looks at you and goes, oh, I don't get Fay. Well, maybe if you're not in a position where she is, you need to figure out what she's doing and emulate it if you want even a portion of the
greatest sadnesses in my life, all of the greatest pains in my life, and there have been some spectacular ones, have been caused by magicians. And I don't know why that is. I don't understand why magicians set out to be so bloody hideous. Now, there's a guy called Richard Quest, right? Who he's a bit of a pull through. He does these sort of and he works for CNN, and every now and again he does a little special about, I don't know, stuntmen, and he'll do Quest for stunts, and then he'll do athletics and stuff, and he'll do Quest for athletics. And he decided he was going to do one about magic, and he did Quest for magic, and he thought, big illusions, get David Copperfield in. I'll go and talk to David Copperfield. So he went out to Las Vegas and he chatted away to him, and he talked to David Copperfield, interviewed him, showed him bits of his show and all sorts of stuff, and went around the museum. And then there's stage magic where people produce doves. So he went for Johnny, who was
Lance Burton.
Lance Burton. He got Lance Burton for the stage magic. So we do the stage magic, Lance Burton. And then he thought, and then there's this close-up stuff. There's this woman in London. I'll go to London and interview Fay Presto. We had a lovely time and did some close-up magic and stuff. Now along comes a magician who is going to do a big number on Copperfield because he worships David Copperfield. And so he's seen, Copperfield was on Quest for Magic. I'll go and do that. So he goes to David Copperfield, and he's this is the email I got, the text I got. I've just seen Quest for Magic. You should put that on your page, on your internet page. You should put that up because they made you look quite good. What? They made you look quite good.
What a passive aggressive, backhanded.
Absolutely. Now, to me, everybody I've sort of explained that situation goes, that's terrible. Now, I don't know whether that was a deliberate, we'll have a go at you, or whether it is just what magicians do. They're such unsensitive people that they don't realise how much that's going to hurt. And it was extraordinary. And I walked around for several days going, because that really, what do you mean they made me look quite good? Am I that bad? Was I lucky to get away with it? And that's the attitude that I get from magicians all the time. Not just once in a while, all the time. And all the greatest pains in my life have been caused by other magicians. I can't think of anything that anybody else has done to me that hurt as much. I did when I was with the Champions of Magic. I got a 3-page letter from a very big name in magic telling me that I shouldn't be allowed on a stage.
What?
I got a 3-page letter from a big name in magic telling me, unsolicited, you know, my scissors aren't sharp enough and you should remember where you are. And
Well,
unsolicited 3-page letter on why are you doing this stuff?
Well, I don't know who sold you that. And obviously you haven't told me, and I'm not going to ask you to name names. But whoever that person is, I'm going to tell you right now, my opinion is they are a complete and total prick.
Be careful. But no, it was
true. It's true. That's wrong on so many levels.
And it hurt me terribly until I discovered that Ben Hart and Danny Buckler have also had
Ben Hart
from the same bloke.
Are you joking?
No. And as soon as I discovered that Ben had had one and Danny had had one, I felt so much better about life. But I carried that around for year. Really hurt me. You know, and stuff like that has happened periodically throughout my career, and it really has damaged me.
Well, the problem, I mean, I'm no stranger to the magic community not being very nice. I've received a lot of backlash in my career as well, and it's just horrible. It really is. When you're out there trying to do the best that you can do, and you're trying to help people, like I know that you do. You help. If I know, I've spoken to people that have reached out to you, and you don't know them, and you've given them advice and help and guidance, and you know, yeah, it's ridiculous.
I'm sitting here with this on, right? I'd love that to be the Magic Circle. But that's the Chicago Magic Roundtable. Because when I was in Chicago, oh, the difference. Extraordinary. You know, I mean, they treated you like a human being. There were 3 close-up magicians going around the audience before the show. 2 of them were girls, 1 of them was a guy. The artistic director's a black guy. The compere was a woman. But they're not going, oh, look at us, aren't we wonderful? They're just going, yeah, because they're the best people for the job. And they were. And there was this whole kind of mutual support. I'll tell you what, years ago, you've got to love the fact that the Magic Circle does a beautiful Christmas show. Fabulous, and it's great. You know. And if you do the stage, you do 2 20-minute sets. They do 2 shows, morning and afternoon. And if you do the stage show, you do 2 20-minute spots, and you get a nice dressing room, and they give you a page in the program. Right? If you do the close-up, you do half an hour close-up before the show, you do half an hour in the interval, twice, so you do 2 hours. You get a line in the program and you change in a toilet. Now, what the is going on? And you go, I don't understand this organisation. Why do you do that?
Well, you know,
It's absolutely natural. I count the pages, right? I get the Magic Circular, and if you go through it, I count all the pictures of blokes doing things and all the pictures of women doing things, and I discount all the pictures of people having things done to them. And there will be 100 pictures of guys doing things, and if you're lucky, there will be 2 or maybe 3 pictures of women doing things. Now, I discount the people being sawn in half, and I discount the people going, ooh, and all of that. But the people doing things, maybe 3% of them, 1%, 2% are women. Now, okay, there aren't as many women in magic as there are men in magic. However, there are an awful, I'm sure that the percentage of women who are good at doing magic, as opposed to those who just do magic, is much higher than the percentage of men who are good at doing magic.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yet there is still this whole attitude, they made you look quite good. And it only seems to happen with magicians. There's something going on there. Don't know what it is.
Well, you've brought up the 3 words that I wasn't going to bring up until you brought them up, which is the Magic Circle.
I never mentioned them.
No, you've opened that can of worms.
I never mentioned them. I wish this was a different badge. I wish I felt.
Well, let's talk about the Magic Circle, because you are your name has been linked with the Magic Circle for a long time, and there's been a lot of rumor, and there's been a lot of like magicians talking to each other behind the scenes. Can we clear all that up? When did you join the Magic Circle?
As soon as they admitted women. As soon as they admitted women, because it was beginning to look stupid. I know why they really wanted to admit women was because they'd bought these premises in Euston, and Camden had a black lesbian mayor. Had a black lesbian disabled mayor, right? Or leader of the, are they going to get any planning permission for a men-only club? I don't think so. Now, they'll tell you that, we woke up to the moment that we've got to, they'd bought premises in Hackney, which also had a lesbian mayor, and they decided not to move down there, and they sold it and lost their shirt on that. So then they got where they are now. But Camden were not going to let a club like that carry on like that with the publicity that was going on. So they had to open the doors. But they haven't opened the doors very wide.
And I've heard that, I mean, you've done an awful lot for the Magic Circle over the years. I remember, didn't you organise some sort of hard hat meeting or something? I've heard rumours about some sort of hard hat meeting. I don't know what it's about, but I've heard rumours.
I've been on council almost since the beginning. And they bought this premises, and you know how secretive magicians are, and they didn't want to show the building to everybody because people would say, well, it was a very good building or whatever. Anyway, the powers that be really didn't want the membership to see the building that they'd bought. They really didn't want it to happen. And you had to jump through a complete hoop. You had to make appointments and go down there. And so I said, we should take the members down, have a look at our new building, because we've spent all this money on it. We should all have a look at it. They said, can't possibly be done. So, well, what's the problem? Well, you would never get insurance. So I phoned the insurers up and said, how much would it cost to get the members out? 60 quid. Just give us 60 quid and we'll cover them. So I might have to. So I just rented 2 buses. I rented a couple of buses, parked them outside the Magic Circle where they were meeting in the Edgware Road, the Victory Services Club. And I sort of said, right, we've got buses outside. Everybody, we're going to go and look at the new building. So everybody piled on the buses and drove down to this new building. And I've got a field kitchen going in there making bacon sandwiches and a kosher alternative and mugs of tea. And everybody had a wonderful time. And they were all walking around. They were having it, people stood up and made sketches and made speeches and stuff. But they wouldn't have done it unless I pushed them into it. I was doing all right at the time, so renting a couple of buses wasn't an awful lot of money. I suppose the whole evening only cost about 300 or 400 quid. But to me, come on, it's a club. It's supposed to be about entertainment. It's supposed to be about fun. We're supposed to be a bunch of people who can make people laugh and make them go, wow. Why aren't we doing that? One of the things that I organised at the IBM conventions was a thing called a fringe supper. Now, to me, it really used to annoy me. They would have a dinner halfway through the convention, and 250 people. There'd be about 2,000 people at the convention. 250 people would put their little dicky bows on. And they'd book a restaurant for 250 people, because there was never anywhere in any of the convention towns that they went to that could cope with the bigger numbers. So the 250 people would go and have dinner, and they'd make speeches telling each other how wonderful they were. And the other 1,800 people had to sort of walk around the town with their hands in their pockets until this lot was over, and then they'd have a late night gala. And I thought, there's got to be a better way of doing this. How can you cater for 1,000 people, or any number that you're going to get? And it suddenly occurred to me, if you find a big space that will hold that many people, and you give out because pizzas, pizza restaurants and chippers and stuff were beginning to do takeaways. So you get their menus and you put them out around the place, and everybody orders whatever they want to eat to be delivered to the same place at exactly the same time. We're going to have a dinner 7:30. So you all turn up at this place and you open the doors, and in comes a motor scooter with There's a big bag on the back. So we ordered the Hawaiian pizzas and okay, fish and chips was it? And you can actually organise a meal for 1,000 people very easily. It doesn't cost you anything. Everybody gets exactly what it is they want to eat. So there's very little wastage. And you put out paper tablecloths and paper plates and plastic knives and forks. And at the end of it, you roll up all the newspaper and just put it in a big plastic bag and off it goes. Now, I call that a fringe supper. And it seems like a very good idea. Oh, no. Can't do that. It's too much like fun. And I think it's sad. I think, you know, I've organised 2 or 3 fish and chip suppers at the Magic Circle, but the members love it.
But that's the thing. This is magic. It's entertainment. You know, it's about, and I've talked on this channel about issues that I've got with magic clubs in the past. But you know, being in a magic club should be about having fun and enjoying yourself and actually showing people magic. You know, I go to not the Magic Circle. I go to another magic society. Nobody ever shows each other magic ever. They all just sit there having a drink, and no one ever does a magic trick. And surely it shouldn't be about that.
Well, I'm not sure. You see, most magicians know how magic tricks are done. So what's the point of showing them magic tricks? Unless it's to make a point about, well, this is the moment where I do this because they're all looking this way or whatever, or I've got to cover 20 minutes. I mean, they're showing each other magic for the sake of showing them magic. I don't understand. Showing them magic to make a point about how your entertainment can be better, I understand that. I get that.
Yeah.
There seems to be very little of that. I cannot understand why the Magic Circle does not have an artistic director.
Yeah.
It doesn't see the need for it. And I think the artistic director it has should not be a magician.
Yeah.
They know enough magic, but what they don't know is which side of the stage to walk on from. Or they don't need where to they don't know where to stand or how to deal with a microphone. Or whether that's what magicians generally don't know. God, I've seen some terrible things there. So you need an artistic director. Any magic club that is going to be the best, the biggest, the most amazing has got to have I can't see how you wouldn't have a theatre that didn't have an artistic director. You wouldn't have a cabaret space that didn't have why can the Magic Circle not have an artist? Oh, well, it would cost money. No, it wouldn't. It'd be self-financing. It would be so easy because good artistic directors would be queuing up to be, I'm the Magic Circle, I'm their artistic director. You could let them use the stage as a rehearsal space, and they could hire themselves out to magicians who wanted to come for a one-on-one thing. And that artistic director would make sure that the shows that you're putting on are current and that you haven't got some, tired old chauvinistic idiot coming on and making sizist jokes and sexist jokes and stuff. The entertainment that you're putting on is current for the moment in which you live. I do not understand that. I mean, the Chicago Magic Lounge has got he is a magician, but he's an artistic, he's a director first. And he looks at that, he takes in the overall picture and goes, that'll work there. Or kind of 2 of those together. So that's what the artistic director, not is your double lift good enough, or is your, is your any card at any number good enough? They don't need to know that. In fact, it's actually better if the artistic director doesn't know any magic. And I don't understand why you can have an organisation like a Magic Circle doesn't have an artistic director. To me, especially if people are running that organisation and writing letters to really talented people telling them that they shouldn't bother. To me, it's all backwards. But it's always been like that. It's been like that ever since I joined 25 years ago, 30 years ago.
Where do you stand with the Magic Circle right now? Because you've been very outspoken about them.
Outside. I mean, I'm a member. I pay my subs.
Yeah.
I was suspended for 12 months because I lost my temper. And so they should have, they should have punished me. I deserved punishment. I had been pushed right to an edge. And the independent panel that they brought in, they did decide at one stage that they should have an independent disciplinary process, because if somebody from council or someone oversteps the mark, then they need somebody independent to say, well, this is what you should do. And that independent panel said, yes, she's bang out of order. She must apologise. She has been very rude. And so she must write a letter of apology to everybody and promise not to do it again. And then the powers that be decided that was not enough and that I should be made an example of and I should be suspended for 12 months. That's fine. If they want to do that, that's fine. It hurt. I think they were a bit unreasonable, but if that's the punishment, that's the punishment. And I'm now a member again. And I now get the lovely magazine and I get all those wonderful things, all the benefits of membership. I'm not sure what they are actually, but I get all the benefits of membership and I'm allowed to be an MIMC again. But I want to be proud of them. And I don't, it's okay. It's not, lay people think that being a member of the Magic Circle is wonderful. And I'm a member of the Inner Magic Circle. I'm a member of the Inner Magic Circle with Gold Star for performing excellence. So it sounds great and it is great, but I want it to mean something.
So how do you change? I mean, how do you change it? I mean, you were on the council.
I'm not on council. I'm not allowed to be on council because I've been disciplined and ejected from council. I could stand again, I think, in August or the following August. Do I care? I so want it. It's funny that Magic Castle's having exactly the same problems. Almost exactly the same, but on a different scale. The Magic Castle is having real problems over the fact that it's been hideous to the minorities, and it's been hideous. There was a staircase going up. There's a staircase at the Magic Castle, right? And it's all filigree and it's all lovely sort of, curlicues and stuff. But there were about 6 chairs in the bar where if you sat in those chairs, you could look right up the girls' skirts. And when this was discovered, they did nothing. Right? I was going to be in Los Angeles for a couple of weeks at the end of the Champions Tour, and I wrote to them. So I'm going to be in Los Angeles for a couple of, our tour finishes there. Should I, book an extra week or so in? And they really wrote back and said, "Don't call us, we'll call you." That's fine. That's fine. It's okay. I get it. But both organisations have been odd about their dealings with women. I mean, it's interesting that we're celebrating this week the Soaring the Lady in Half illusion, right? It's 100 years old. But I've got an aeroplane going over the top. I don't know.
So good.
What's interesting about that is that every illusion of that nature is actually giving men permission to be hideous to women. We're going to cut her in half. We're going to stick knives through her. We're going to do all sorts of things because now, obviously, we put women in boxes because they're more flexible. We put women in boxes because they're more attractive to look at than most men and all sorts of things. But in actual fact, what you're doing when you put women in boxes like that is giving certain men, license to do horrible things to women. Oh dear. And so I just find this process of illusions and doing horrible things to people. Do magicians just feel, most male magicians, are they convinced that their power is in a certain organ? Because every time you see a magician doing close-up on the box, on the internet, they're either doing it standing up with the cards right in front of that particular area of them and their anatomy, or they're sitting on a couch with a white dog in manspreading furiously. Look at what now is that more particular to magic? Because magic is about having power. For most people, I'll go into magic, then I can get girls.
I think you're right, because I've talked about this on the channel before. A lot of people that get into magic are people that were maybe not accepted socially at school or found it difficult to make friends, and learning these tricks gives them something that they can do that others can't and gives them a sense of power. Totally agree with that.
Absolutely about power. It's a power struggle.
Yeah.
Now, with great power comes great responsibility. And if you are going to wield great power, then you must wield it responsibly. And magic clubs seem very bad at that. And when people come along who are maybe pointing that out one way or another, they have particular trouble with it. And I think that magic clubs need to be very careful about that, and about, you know, I mean, a very, very intellectual woman I know says, you know, the problem with magic clubs is, and I said, no, what is it? She said, well, they either want whores or homesteaders. And it's kind of true. They want women that they can dominate. They want women that they can do horrible things to, or they want women who, or they want someone who's going to shut up and make the tea. And although it is changing very slowly. And an awful lot of the women that I know have just, you know, in the end, they, oh, sorry, I'll get married and have kids. And so this power, the power of magic needs very careful handling. If you've got a nuclear deterrent, you shouldn't be letting it off. Okay, you need to use that power to control things and to control an audience and do all of those things that you want to do. But I think it's much better to do it with kindness.
I haven't been to the Circle for a few years. Is there any females on the council at the moment?
Yeah, it's two.
Okay.
No, three. Two. Maddie Davis is no longer on council. Catherine Rhodes is on council, and Megan Knowles-Benkin is vice president.
Okay.
And that's a much higher percentage than you would expect on the council. If the percentage of women in the Magic Circle is around 10-15%, then a higher proportion of that council are female. But both of them have been typing the letters at one time or another. It's easier to get on council if you type the letters, or if you do the filing or whatever. I don't know. It's interesting.
So what would you do if I could snap my fingers right now and make you president of the Magic Circle with unlimited power? What would you do? What would you do to? Huh?
Fix the hospitality bypass. The family that eats together stays together, and all sorts of things. And you need a sense of fun and a sense of, you know. Now, obviously, you have to maintain the library, which is a very important resource, and you have to make sure that the shows that you put on, but reflect the authority of the club. But they're a doer bunch, aren't they?
Yeah.
And the funny ones, you know. I mean, how often do we see Danny Buckler on stage at the Magic Circle? How often, you know, how often did you see Lenahan having fun and all of those sorts of people who are good at sort of taking, just, where's the fun of it?
Yeah.
And the Magic Circle, I would like to see the show. The shows are better now, but you get a line, you know, the close-up magician. And most people who earn their money from magic are doing close-up. Give them a line, give them a bit more of a line in the program. Don't get them to change in a toilet. It's very easy to build dressing rooms for a one-off occasion. On those occasions when I've put on big shows, I put a curtain up at one end of the event room, and you have a big communal dressing room going on. It's not hard. You know, I mean, there was a time when I've written, 3-4 magic books. There have been sort of posters for shows that I've been in, and at one stage, one of the vice presidents went round, took every reference to me out of the shelves and out of the library. You know,
You couldn't.
it's odd. I won the close-up magic competition with that big table, and I suggested to someone, I'll tell you what'd be fun. No, what'd be fun, because you look at the museum, and the most boring two cases are the women in magic bit. They're really tedious and dull. There's Dynamo's shoes that he walked across the Thames in, and there's Chung Ling Sue's outfit, and there's a Dippy Duck going on over there. Oh God, what's going on? Oh, it's the women. And I suggested they might like the table that I used. I don't know if you know about the table that I used. I decided that close-up doesn't look like the close-up that I do. It doesn't look like that. The close-up I do is I'm sitting at a table with 10 people. I'm standing at a table with 10 people, all laughing and having a great time. I'm not sitting at a table with somebody sitting here and somebody sitting here. That's not what I did. So when I did the Magic Castle about 10 years ago, I looked at the close-up room. They gave me the close-up room to do. And I looked at it, and it's got this semicircular table, and you're supposed to have somebody sitting here and somebody sitting there. So I thought, I'm going to turn the table round. I'm going to put that flat side up against the audience, and I'm going to set 5 table places at the table. And then I'll have 5 people out the audience, and they'll sit down behind the table, and I'll do what I do at a Zozo. And it worked really well, but it was a nightmare because all the glasses were getting full up with stuff, and I'd had card fountains going off, and it was, the reset was taking me a nightmare. The worst thing was that I had to go and get new napkins and clean glasses and some cutlery and stuff, and I had to queue up at the bar to get that. And the way that the Magic Castle works is it's very clever. They have a big stage show that goes on twice a night, and then they have a parlor show which is half the length of the stage show. So they do the parlor show 4 times a night because it holds half the number of people. So if they get, suppose they get 200 people in their main theatre, the parlor show seats 100 people. So if they do 4 parlors, and the close-up is a quarter of that. So, but by doing the close-up show 8 times, you can still get all the people who have been in the big. It's complicated, but it works. Should work. So, but I've got to do 8 close-up shows with the normal magic reset, but I've got to get all the glasses clean and stuff, and I had to queue up at the bar. I was overrunning like you wouldn't believe by the end of it. There was this queue down the road, but the queue outside was going, you've got to see this, it's amazing. And I sat these 5 people around my side of the table. I'll tell you how good it was. It was so good that I looked down at one of the women, and she felt so much at home in the restaurant, she was texting her mate. So I thought, it was a great concept, but I needed something that wasn't going to sort of need resetting. So I thought I'll make an architect's model of half of a 10-top table. It'd be a 5-top table. Architect's model, I even sprayed it matte white. And I glued all the knives and forks down and the glasses and everything. But people didn't realise I'd glued all the glasses and the knives and forks down. So at the end, I could pick the table up and sort of throw it away. And it worked really well. And I won the close-up. Took me 3 goes to win the close-up. The first time the chair and the judges said, oh, we can't have that. Can we push her down to 3rd or 2nd? Yeah, better have her down a 2nd. The next time I was interviewed by the television company that had come to see the show, they go, wow, this has got to be Fay Presto. She's got to have won it. And I came 2nd. So I gave up. And then after a time, I thought, I'll take this table in. And I did. It was so revolutionary that and also, they'd begun to get lay judges in. So, you know, I won the close-up with it. I was the first woman to ever win the close-up magic. And I said to somebody, you know, why don't this table is still hanging upside down on the ceiling of my office. It's impossible to store. So I've just hoisted it up on the ceiling. And upside down on the ceiling, it does look quite strange because it's white glasses and knives and forks and stuff. And I thought, you know, that'd be funny. They could screw it to the ceiling of the Magic Circle Museum. It'd be fun. And people say, what's that about? So I was, you know, it's close-up magic. But no, that's, oh, you couldn't possibly do that. It'd be terribly boring. Oh, no, you can't. So what got us onto this? But it's this, can we have some fun, please? We are an organisation. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? The Players Theatre and the Concert Artists Association, they seem to put on the best people they can. Yeah. Why do we never see the Ben Harts and the Danny Butlers and these toweringly talented people that we've got? And it's somebody sitting at a table with a close-up mat.
Yeah.
I mean, there's room for that. There has to be room for close-up mats. There has to be room for examinations. There has to be room for all of those things that it needs. There has to be somewhere where it can keep the records of what it does. But 15 years ago, the Magic Circle was one of the top rated corporate entertainment venues in London. It won trophies for it. Okay, someone was making a lot of money out of it, but so was the Circle. I objected because, you know, he was using most of his mates to do the gigs, and it should have been a slightly broader, you know, palette to paint from.
Yeah.
But it was the top corporate venue in London. Isn't anymore. Why? What's gone wrong? Where's the fun gone?
It's true.
Sorry, and they'll probably kick me out again now. Ability to criticise. Well,
no, I think that if anybody is watching this from the Magic Circle, I don't think you're coming across. I think that you're coming across as somebody who loves the circle, and you're frustrated that it's not what you think it could be.
I want to love this.
Yeah.
I so want to be. I want to love the place. They do make it hard. They do make it difficult to love them. And that's my problem with it. I'll go on paying me subs, and if they kick me out, they kick me out again. I don't know why they do it this time, because I have had the temerity to criticise. But people criticise me, you know, Magic Circle member, you shouldn't be allowed on stage. Magic Circle member, you know, they made you look quite good. So if I've got to take it, they got to take it.
Well, like I say, I don't know who at the circle would tell you that, but there's nobody at the circle that I'm aware of that can even touch you on their best day when you're on your worst.
No. Come on, there are some.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I think that the circle has some amazing magicians, but you're an amazing magician as well. And even if they felt that way, there are ways of dealing with it other than sending a letter. You know, but
I would have thought so. But you know, that's what we're stuck with. And of course, this shutdown is not helping much at all. So we're all in terrible trouble at the moment.
Yeah. Let's completely change things for a bit. I want to ask you something, because you've been on TV an absolute ton. You which is another thing that magicians, it's their holy grail. I want to be on TV.
You add up my television appearances, they really don't count much. Don't come to a lot. Now, the stuff I've done has been very memorable.
Yeah.
I had to do a thing once called Follow the Money. It was the money program, right? And they wanted to use magic to illustrate the tricks that magicians play. So I had to learn 20 tricks to illustrate these points about finance. I know bugger all about finance. And they didn't have a budget for an auto cue, so I had to work off cue cards and all sorts of stuff. It was a nightmare. But it was deemed by the BBC training school to be a brilliant example of how to make a boring subject interesting. I did Wogan. I did one appearance on Daniels. I was not deemed good enough to do the Ron Lucas show. So how much television have I had? Not a lot. I really haven't had much.
Your first appearance was Wogan, right?
Yeah, 3 years in. Oh, that taught me something. Really? I've been doing magic for 3 years, and I was put out in front of 11 million viewers live. Not as live. There was no sort of, oh, we'll film it and then show it as it's shot. No, it was done live. There was not even a 6-second delay. And now we come to a problem, but we're going to look at it, and then, you know, we will. They said, they came to me and said, would you do Wogan? So I said, of course I would. 11 million viewers. It's live. It's exciting. Yes, of course we do. I said, but there are two things I will not discuss. One is the Magic Circle not admitting women, because it was before they'd admitted women. And I said, all you're doing is fanning the flames. Let's just prove that there's a woman magician who's quite good. Let's do that. And I don't really want to go into my history, because it's not what I'm about. So they said, yes, of course, under those circumstances, we will do it. So I'm standing in the wings, waiting to go. They're giving me 10 minutes. I've asked for a 5-minute wind up, because my last trick, Banana Split, is going to run for 5 minutes. And so I'm standing in the wings, waiting to go on 11 million viewers. There's fireworks going off left, right, and centre. It's November the 5th. And I've not really been at this job very long. I mean, I am a bit nervous. And Terry Warren says, no, the Magic Circle is not an organisation renowned for its attitude to women. I go, you bastard. Here's a female magician. So I came out, and we've rehearsed it for camera. Because I know that you've got to, but I didn't want Wogan there, because I wanted his reaction. Magic is about reaction. And I did not want the, oh my goodness, that's wonderful reaction. I wanted, wow, the reaction that I'm living with in restaurants all the time. That's what I'm getting. I want that because that's what sells it. So we rehearsed the tricks, but for camera, but we haven't rehearsed it for Wogan. So he's going to see it fresh. Now I'm going into this thing, and the camera is sneaking around the back of all sorts of things. It's not, you know, I'm doing a ring vanish in a rolled up note. It's powerful from here. If you come around this side, you don't get the full effect of it. Okay, fine. And then I look across at the floor manager, and he's going, 3-minute wind up. Meaning you haven't got time for your 5-minute trick now, have you? And I go, well, yes, I have actually, because I can shorten that down to 3 minutes. Now, I have to tell you, I did a lot of dinghy sailing as a kid. And you have to know what 5 minutes is, because you have to line your boats up so it goes over the start line, and they fire a 10-minute and a 5-minute and then a gun. So you have to know how long 5 minutes is. So I know I shortened the trick down to 3 minutes. And wow, there we go. And I look across at the floor manager, and he's going, 2-minute wind up. Well, I happen to have another trick in my pocket, so I did. I think I did rising card or something. I can't remember. Finished dead on the time. But I'm a bit worried about what's been going on, because this is the BBC. So we're in the green room afterwards. And I said to this floor manager, what was going on there? Because, you know, this is the BBC. And he said, you were brilliant. We were out to get you and couldn't. What? This is mainstream BBC television. I know it was. We were out to get you and couldn't.
The Magic Circle is an exclusively male bastion. They don't welcome lady practitioners any more than certain sections of the Church of England. So I'd like you to meet a lady practitioner now, who was going to do magic for Bonfire Night. But they won't let us set the set on fire. We could do with a new one. So light the blue touch paper and retire, because here's Fay Presto. We appear to have some props here.
One or two little bits and pieces.
Yeah. You do what's called...
Nothing to do with me, I promise.
I thought it was in Miami, but it's here. You do the close-up magic, prestidigitation. Isn't that right? What's the difference between the small stuff and the big, say, Paul Daniels effect?
Well, do you have a fiver I could borrow? Best question to start with, isn't it?
I knew this was going to be a bad night.
By coincidence,
Yes.
fine. Okay.
Careful now, it's me last.
Close-up magic happens here, you see. What we do is we take something like a purple silk handkerchief.
Yeah. It's difficult, though, because particularly with the camera, it's very close in on you, and any kind of little tricks, people can see what you're doing, can't they?
Well, yeah, I mean, but the camera can get no closer than you can, you see.
Yeah.
And let's try...
But I'm easily fooled.
Oh. Would you like to just blow on there?
Certainly.
Oh, beautiful. Beautifully done. Look, let's try this, you see.
I didn't see a thing.
You didn't see it go?
Not a thing.
Well, look, let's try. Let's try doing the same thing in reverse.
I am looking up your sleeves.
There's nothing in there.
There's
Just my thumb in the note.
Yeah.
Nothing in this
You
hand.
haven't got it hidden under your fingernails.
No, it just happens to be right here. Look, you see. Under that.
Why did you
have that back? I'd hate to get a bill for it.
Thank you.
afterwards.
Why, no, it's a prop.
It's a prop.
It belongs to the floor manager.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Not getting it back, though. Why did you choose to do close-up magic?
Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time. I was going to be a big illusionist.
Yeah.
You know, and do boxes and cut men in half. Because I figured it was about time that, you know, we got our own back. But it's very expensive. You see, it's much cheaper to do something like this with a good old BBC salt cellar, where you just take a handful of salt like that. You see, you don't need any expensive props doing it this way. You just do this, and you just go like that, and you go like that, and you go like that. You see. If you're looking for it, it's up here. Look, it's there. You see, look.
Oh, extraordinary. You threw it over your shoulder for luck.
Oh, yes, it always goes over the left shoulder.
What made you become a magician? Because there aren't many lady magicians, are there?
Well, I figured, you see, that's what I figured, that there
Yeah.
weren't many lady magicians, and you can always sell something that nobody else is selling. So
Yeah, but you had you shown any talent for doing it beforehand? Did you just decide, look, I'm fed up doing what I'm doing, I'm going to be a magician?
Well, I was in selling. You see, I was
Yeah.
selling things, and when you're selling things, you're telling a verbal lie. You see, you tell out,
Oh, that's
you tell
nice.
fibs by leaving out large areas of the truth.
That gives us a lot of faith in salesmen all over the country.
You know, poor souls, they have a living to earn, and so the easiest way of doing things, and magic is very similar because I'm telling you a visual lie. You see.
You are, yeah, and you've fooled me so far.
That's the way it works.
Yeah. Well, how do you rate people like Uri Geller? Do you think he's just a chance of just a
Great
magician?
showman, brilliant showman.
You think he's just a magician?
Wonderful
though?
showman.
Yeah.
I would reserve judgment. I haven't seen him work close to, and I would reserve judgment on him.
What's the champagne glass for?
We could do something. Let's try this with a couple of
Do you
couples.
want to donate any money?
That's right. Well, let's use this. I've got some small change here.
Have you?
Yeah.
Because I'm loaded today.
Well, let's put that in there and that in there. Would you just put a hand flat over the end of the glass? That's it.
Certainly,
Trap the
yeah.
coins inside.
Trap the coin.
This one is totally unrehearsed. Could you just point that at the camera?
Certainly.
There.
I'm
Now,
not
there's no
used-
way I can get
I'm
a
not
coin
used
out
to
round
this kind
here,
of...
is there?
Certainly not, because I've...
So the only way I can get a coin out is you just give it a little shake like that.
Very
so the coin
tight.
comes out there, like that, and you have got how many in there?
One.
I don't know how it works, it just does.
Do that again.
Oh, I never repeat a trick.
Hey?
I never repeat
Don't
a
you?
trick.
Because some cute person there has got one of those stop frames in the video and they can see how it's done.
Oh,
Is
I'm
that
sure
it?
they have.
Yeah. I don't know how you did that because I didn't feel a thing. Right, next.
Next, well, as magicians traditionally work with rabbits, I'm no exception, and I have my own particular member of the breed here.
Ah,
This is,
yes.
yeah, it is. Yes, you've made it. Yes. He's got a special little effect that he'd lined up especially for bonfire night and all the bangs. And would you like to get the bits and pieces out, Harvey? Okay, fine. This is, well, we'll come to that later. And the cards, Harvey.
Harvey was
Fine.
invisible.
Not this Harvey.
Oh, I see.
He's a baby poo.
Oh, I see.
Pack of cards. And this, his pièce de résistance. His little gun. Right, now what we have to do, you have to pick a card.
Certainly. Any card.
Here. Any card.
Yeah. Right, thanks, Harv.
I'm terribly sorry, he's not the best behaved
He's
rabbit.
aggressive
Would you
little
pick a
rabbit,
card?
yeah.
No, wait a minute, the rabbit's watching. Harvey, don't watch. No, you're hard. Look, I'll turn these over so that there can be no hint of collusion between me and the rabbit, okay?
Okay.
Right, would you now like to pick a card?
Certainly will. Just a member of the audience committing suicide.
Right, if you'd like to take that out
I'm
and
taking
show
the
it
card.
to camera.
Take the... But then you might look
Well,
at the
I
camera.
promise I won't look, and the
You're not
rabbit
going to
won't
look at the camera. Which
It's all
camera am I
right.
going to show this to? Where are you? Oh, there you are. Right.
Right, okay, I
Okay.
didn't see it. It
You
doesn't
didn't
really
see
matter
that.
anyway. it's
Okay,
fine.
right.
Now, would you place that back in the pack up the wrong way?
I certainly will.
Just slide it about halfway down the pack.
Okay.
That's fine.
See me do that, Harv? Good boy.
Right, now what we have to do is blindfold the rabbit. So if you take this and just blindfold, there's a little elastic here, you see?
Okay. Well, no, no, it's not cruel. There's nothing cruel
Oh, no,
about this.
no, he's
Steady, Harvey, be
quite
brave.
a willing helper.
Be brave. Just get it behind your ears. I hardly hurt him at all there.
Barbara Kelly, eat your heart out. Look at this.
It suits him, doesn't it? Yeah, very
Right,
nice.
okay. Now what you have to do is to hold the cards there like that.
I think I prefer him to Roland Rat, you know.
Oh, he has... Right, okay, now, this is... Could you just hold that sort of slightly clear of yourself? Because this is where the sharpshooting rabbit... No, Miami Vice? What have they... No, okay. Right, now, would you just like to spread those cards out along on the table?
Yeah.
And you'll find that your card, which is still backwards in the pack,
Yeah.
should have undergone a slight metamorphosis somewhere. Where is it?
Don't panic.
Don't panic, it's there somewhere. There it is, look.
What's happened to it?
Well, it's in there somewhere.
Harvey.
Harvey, what have you done with
Oh,
it?
Harvey.
No, it must
Where?
be.
Go on, where?
Of course it is.
Another one gone.
And as you can see from there, we've actually...
Shot 2 holes in the card. That's a pretty good trick, Harv.
He's a perpetual scene stealer.
Yes.
Okay, you've finished your bit. You can now go.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Thanks for coming, Harvey. It's been a great pleasure having you on this show. Thanks
Right.
a lot. Good man. Very good. Very good. I'll keep that, can I? That's pretty good.
Be my guest, yes.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
keep it as a small souvenir.
Listen, old boxcar.
We have one last effect that we could run through quite quickly if we can borrow boxcar.
Yeah, Box, where'd you go? Good man.
Hello.
How do you do? I need your theatrical ability.
Oh, listen.
What I'd
Whatever
like
I
you
can do
to
to
do...
help out.
He's done a bit of acting, you know.
What I'd like
He's
you to
done
do
a
is
bit
to
of
cut the cards.
Cut the card.
Use a karate chop corner to corner. You can put a sound effect in as well if you like.
Hiya!
Oh, fabulous. Right, okay. Now, that was brilliantly done. I have to tell you. That was totally brilliant.
Hey.
What I'd like...
great.
There's no limit to this man's
What I'd
talent.
like you to do, if you would, is to pick half a card.
Certainly. Any card.
Any half
card.
card. Right.
Thank you.
Okay, you've got
I've got two
never
there.
mind.
Never mind.
Okay, fine. And what I'd like you to do from the other half of the pack, which you might recognise as it comes out
I
here.
hope you're better at helping than I am.
Uh, have you a great rapport between you? I can
Yes.
see there what's
No,
going
it's
on. Would
all
you gaze across the void,
Certainly we can.
transmit the card that you have selected, and I'd like you to pick the other half of it from here.
I'm transmitting.
I'm transmitting. Are you receiving?
Okay,
People
fine.
dying like flies out there.
Fine. Wonderful. Once again, don't show anybody else yet.
Okay.
Now, it would be amazing if those two halves matched.
They really would.
Fantastic, yeah.
It would be even more amazing if they matched each other.
Absolutely.
But if it matched this card here, which is my prediction, that would be even more staggering.
Truly,
Right,
That would
so
be
we
phenomenal.
are, then let's have this half back.
No.
And let's have this half back.
Yeah.
Now, as you can see, the backs are a perfect match.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not impressed?
Well, not really, because I mean...
Well, the fronts are a perfect match too.
Aha.
Oh,
Well,
never mind. For goodness sake.
Sorry.
The
can't win
others-
them all.
The others worked. The others did.
yeah,
the rabbit.
the others were good tricks.
Who's
They
picked the
really
three of
were.
hearts?
He did.
You did, so you picked the queen of
I'll
clubs.
pick the queen of clubs.
I picked
It's,
the right
it's,
hand.
it's just as well you did, actually, because otherwise it wouldn't have matched that.
Excellent. Terrific. Prestidigitation. Is that what you call it? But have you got?
I like to call it entertainment, actually.
Have you got anything else you can show us quickly?
Yeah, a very quick card trick, if you like.
Yeah.
Let's try this one. We've got a couple of whiskey tumblers there.
Oh, good. There's going to be a drink in this.
No, I don't think there's going to actually be a drink, but what we want are the tumblers.
Yeah.
Okay, so fine. Let's. Would you like to pick a card?
Certainly. This time I'll try not to make a mess.
You didn't make a mess the last time, actually.
no,
It
you-
was just as well you picked
thanks
that
to
one.
you.
It would have been in
Yeah.
trouble. And you
All
picked
right.
one.
Thank you.
Fine.
Right.
Do have a look at it. There's nothing worse than getting through to the end of the trick and having somebody say, "Oh, really?" You know, it defeats the object, doesn't
All right,
it?
go on.
Right. Okay. Could we have yours back?
Certainly.
Thank you very much. Could we have yours back? That's fine. Now, what I'd like you to do, may I call you Box?
Boxcar, please.
Right,
That's my
okay.
first name, Box.
Fine, okay. Would you just concentrate on your card, and with anything like luck and a following wind...
Oh, my goodness.
Did that look vaguely familiar?
Absolutely.
Is that yours?
Yes.
This one here, look. Come on. Right, now yours I'm going to try in a slightly more mysterious fashion.
Was that the one you picked?
That's the one I picked.
Let's
Oh,
Honest
take-
mine
man.
are hearts.
Let's take this glass here
Yeah.
and this glass here,
Right.
and look. This worked in rehearsals, folks.
What's going to happen here?
It's happening.
What is It's coming up. It's coming up. The Queen of Clubs. The
Does
very
that
one
look
I
vaguely
picked.
familiar?
Congratulations.
Oh,
That's amazing.
the sense of relief that floods through me when these little effects work out.
Fay Presto, ladies and gentlemen, and Boxcar Willie. Thank you both.
And
How would? Oh my gosh! How would you react to that? That's terrible.
I doubt whether there's any point in fighting for any more television, is there? You know, what's the point? I did. There was the Ron Lucas show at the Hippodrome, and I looked amazing. They made me this beautiful Fisher. John Fisher was the series producer, and I'm the resident magician at the Hippodrome, and on the last show of the last series, they finally asked me to do some magic, and they make me this dress that was like it was like turquoise metallic blue. I looked stunning. I was so pleased with myself. I was as thin as I've ever been. We put pockets in it all over. We've got a nice routine lined up, and I turned up nice and early for the rehearsals because it was all. I think it was all day Sunday. The Hippodrome was closed on a Sunday, so they filmed it on a Sunday, showed it on the Monday, and so they've got the whole place is rehearsals all day, and then they do it in the evening. And I turn up nice and early, and I park the car because it's a nightmare to park in the West End. I park the car, and I'm going in, and the producer comes up to me and says, "You've got your tailcoat, haven't you?" And I said, "Well, no," because I was working in fishnets and tailcoat for the Hippodrome. But you made me this brilliant bright blue ruche number, shoulder list, picture of it somewhere, don't know where. And he said, "I want you to wear the tailcoat for the walk down." I've never known anybody to dress down for the walk down. At the end of the walk down, at the end of the pantomime, that's when the drag act comes on with the light up boat on its head. But that's what the producer wants. Go home, travel all the way home, got the tailcoat, still got back in time for the rehearsals, did the rehearsal, and I'm doing a silk vanish. It's quite a nice one. You borrow a ring, and you roll up a £5 note, and you drop the ring on a ribbon into the note, onto the note, it's gone. Where is it? Anywhere I bloody well want it to. But on this occasion, you were still allowed to smoke in those days. So I've got a packet of silk cut cigarettes in a wine glass with another wine glass over the top. And we vanish the silk into the £5 note, clip the £5 note at each end, stand the £5 note on its end. One of the audience is going to unclip the note, and it's gone. Where's it gone? Get the packet of cigarettes out, open the cigarettes, it's in here. So it's quite a powerful little trick. That's in the window. Now, when we rehearse it, it's fine, takes time. Come to the shoot, and I can't stand the note up. It doesn't stand up. So in the end, I just laid it across the glass. Now, Sue Pollard sang flat and re-recorded it twice. And Victor Borgia overran by 40 minutes. And the Chinese jugglers knocked their equipment over 3 times for their big finish, and they did retakes. But it's deemed that I can't do a retake because anyway, we've got it. So go home, it's in the car. For the walk down, I wear the tail. They have this big walk down at the end, and I wear the tailcoat, as asked to by the producer. Next morning, I get the phone call from the producer of the show, and he said, "What did you think?" And I said, "Well, I didn't see it, did I? I was doing it." So he said, "Well, we got to pull it because you look nervous and you didn't." Now, yes, the note fell over. I didn't realise that the note blew over because in rehearsal we were standing right by an air conditioning unit, which wasn't on. But put all the lights on, put the cameras on, put the crowd in there. They've got the air conditioning on full blast, and the note blew over. But it's not deemed possible to do a retake. Nobody is going to work out that it blew over. I didn't not stand it up, and so we're pulling the piece. And in the long shot of the walk down, I am a dancer coming down one side of the stairs, and then they frame in tighter, and I drop off this end, and the dancer drops off that end, so I don't even show up in the show. I'd take a lot of persuading that he wasn't going to use it. I'd take a lot of persuading that he's not going to use it. So there's my big break. Here's another big break on the Ron Lucas show. Wow, I'm going to get to do some close-up magic. No, you're not. So when you say I've done a lot of television, I haven't really. You remember every frame of it, but I haven't done a lot. I mean, I did a 40 minutes documentary. Yeah. Which was quite well received, and I did Quest for Magic, and I've done, stuff like that, but I haven't really done that much television at all, which is why I'm still driving a second-hand motor car.
But yeah, it feels like you've done a lot more than you actually have, Fay. It feels like you've done a lot more than you have in terms of TV. Can we talk about the Champions of Magic, because that was that must have been a great experience, right?
It was fab. It was fab. And you get in front of an audience of 1,200 people, and they're lining up for autographs afterwards, and it was just. And I developed a couple of pieces that were really quite nice for it. Quite a good rope routine sitting on the front of the stage, which was a lovely moment, and a balloon trick that I still think is one of the best sort of gypsy thread type balloon tricks ever. I'd say I was really proud of my work on that show.
Do you like balloons? Do you like balloons? I love balloons. Right, we want you to have this balloon, but the string is a bit long. We take this into the audience, it will get away. So could you go there? Because what we would like you to do, just cut the string a bit. Yes, about there, that's good. Excellent. Excellent. There. Keep going, keep cutting. Yeah, because it's a bit long. That's excellent, fine. Are you left-handed? Are you left-handed? Can't remember. No, neither can I. I'd give my right arm to be ambidextrous. Yeah, excellent. Look at that. Look at that, that's brilliant. We've got the scissors really cooking now, haven't we? I love it when these scissors work this well. I love it when these scissors, they have boom. Oh gosh, Daisy, I've gone too far. Daisy, we've gone far too far. Could you take these bits, put scissors down, yeah, and kind of scrunch them together in a sort of a, yeah, if you scrunch them into sort of a bally thing, and get rid of that, that's fantastic. Yeah, no, it's going to work, that's good. Fine, right. Now, what you need to, yeah, that hand goes there, the ball goes in there, that's brilliant, that's great. Have you got it? Got most of it? Good, because this is fantastic now. Relax a little. Yeah. Daisy, would you like one balloon or a bunch of balloons? How about a bunch? Would you like this done with or without glitter? Oh, life is so much better with glitter. Yeah.
And everybody seemed to like me, and it was, we're finishing a tour in Los Angeles. We wind up sort of in the car park at the Magic Castle with another 3 shows to do, and then there's going to be a short break, and then a run of 10 shows in the new year in Ohio, and you know, I've spent an evening in the Magic Castle chatting to Carissa Hendricks and people, and we sort of had a nice time. And we go outside, and then I'm summoned to the bus, and I'm handed an envelope, and in the envelope is $100 and a letter saying you're fired. As of now.
What?
There will be a car coming for you in 2 hours' time. Get your kit together. You're going. And I broke my heart. It absolutely destroyed me. And I still don't know why I was fired. I'm told it was because I was disloyal to the show. Well, I went through all of my Facebook, postings, and I wasn't delirious about the bus. It was a bit, but you deal with that. And so I was, but I was a bit scrubby. But I was proud of a punch of the gig and loved doing it. It was hard work, and I'm 70 and I'm trying to keep up with 25 and 30-year-olds, and that's quite hard. But I think I was doing all right. My rider was a very difficult rider. I wanted 3 copies of the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal delivered to the stage door before we set the show, because I'm doing torn and restored newspaper, water into torn and restored newspaper. I need 3 big format newspapers, and setting the balloons was quite tricky. I mean, I think you've got a clip of it, and it's a really nice piece, and the one that I've got on record is Daisy, and she just is in, it's a great piece, but it's a bastard to set. And I really needed a balloon wrangler to help. And I was promised a balloon wrangler, and they gave me a stagehand who was terrified of balloons. So he was never around. Big muscly bloke, way, hates balloons. So I never got the bloke to help me, and it had to be set right on top of the show, because it was going to, over a period of time, it goes down, And so I never got the balloon parade. And not once did I get the 3 newspapers. So I had to go out into strange towns with no transport and find 3 copies of a morning large format newspaper in the middle of the afternoon. That's hard. If I said to you now, we're in London, go and find 3 copies of the Telegraph, you'd go, where the fuck?
Yeah.
So I was working under a certain amount of stress. It was quite stressful, but I like a bit of stress. And I think the balloon trick only let me down twice. I did have a possible stroke at one stage where I fell asleep with my dinner and I was carted off to hospital, but I skipped one show, but I was back. And so it was quite stressful, but I still don't know why I was fired at 2 hours notice. I still don't know. And that was another, when I say that the greatest pains in my life have all been delivered by magicians, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, it seems that you've had so much adversity that you've had to push past, and a lot of it has come from the magic community.
Yeah. Oh, every time it's been the magic community. Every time that I have been seriously hurt, it has been a magician or the magic community. Outside of magic, my life's a ball. I have a really great time. You know, I find stuff to do that is meaningful. And, you know, I go into Langhans and they're pleased to see me, and I've been there for 40 years. I must be doing something right. They may have gone back, may they get rescued? Who knows? You know, the Ned, I've been at the Ned for 3 years. I must be doing something right. All of my residencies have lasted, you know, I was at the Criterion for about 6 or 7 years. I worked extensively for Marco Pierre White, and he's a talented man, but not the easiest, but I managed. Waiters seem to like me. Audiences seem to like me. I get, you know, my fridge is covered in kids' paintings of kids who would help me out with the rope trick, and said, you know, I get letters from parents saying, thank you, you gave Emily forever memories and stuff. But magicians, you know, they made you look quite good. Here's 3 pages as your scissors aren't sharp enough, and you got to remember where you are. I was in frigging Swindon. Nobody in Swindon knows what county they're in. So I did say at one stage, are we in Wiltshire or Berkshire? You know, because it just... So the Magic Circle kicked me out because after, God, 25 years of it, they organise an event for for having women in the Magic Circle for 25 years, and I'm not allowed to be involved. And they celebrate 100 years of the Magic Circle, and the only thing I'm allowed to do is to go and sign a few autographs. And so, yeah, but I just love performing magic. I don't want to do anything else. Don't ever want to stop.
Why, when you've been hurt so much by magic and the magic community and the Magic Circle, and you feel like you're constantly having to push, why do you continue to help people? Because you do. I know. If
Gentleman.
Huh?
Have you seen the film An Officer and a Gentleman?
Yes.
Do you not remember when he was being bullied to a standstill by the drill sergeant and put round and round an endurance course? And the drill sergeant is saying, get out of this, Navy, go away, go back to your rich parents and stuff. And he just sits up and looks this drill sergeant in the face and just says, I've got nowhere else to go. And to a certain extent, I've got nowhere else to go. I've got to do magic. It's the only thing I'm good at.
But there are so many magicians that think about you so fondly. You know, 15 minutes before we started this interview, I posted on Facebook saying, I'm about to interview Fay Presto. This is a big deal for me. I'm very, very excited. I didn't tell you this, but in the 15 minutes between posting that and actually coming on this call with you, I've had so many people message me going, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see it. And I'm just looking at the thread now because I haven't looked at it because we've been talking. I've got people saying, Fay did one of her first Magic Circle lectures for me at the BMS as the BMS president. lovely lady. That's awesome. Can't wait to watch it. Wow, looking forward to that. An incredible lady, great friend. I guarantee this thing's
Talking about the Blackpool Magic Society, there, BMS.
British Magical Society. It was John Jeremy that said that. Yeah, John and Pam. Can't wait. Oh wow, truly inspirational. You know, there are people out there that care so much.
Where does this? I'd love to know this. Where it goes after God knows how many years, I get asked to lecture at Blackpool. Right now, my lecture is it's a set format. I ask for a table of 10 lay people sitting at a 10 top table. I do my set. We film it. We kiss them off the stage. We run the video back and I deconstruct it. And we stop and start the film and say, this is why I had to do this. This is why I had to do that. Look at this bloke. He's not watching, so I'm going to nail him down. This was, they didn't have the rights. So I had to do that. And it covers all of those of what's going on. So my request to the Blackpool Magic Society, Blackpool people, was I want a 10 top table. Now, for God's sake, it's an entertainment venue. It shouldn't be the hardest thing in the world to put 10 top table. I want somebody like Bob Hamilton to film it, and then we'll run it back and we'll discuss it. 5 minutes to go on. The bloke before me is overrun by 45 minutes. They haven't put enough seats in the place because people are moving seats in from all over the place, but that's fine. And there is no sign of this 10 top table. Where's the table? The next thing I see is two guys carrying in one of those big refectory tables with nothing on it, no seats or anything. And I'm going, that's not going to work. Now, fortunately, I had my 5 top table, my half a 10 top table up there because I'd done the bear pit. That's another thing. I have all these people doing the international stars of close-up magic, but I have to do the bear pit. That's okay, you know. So I know I've got to do like 5 different tables all at the same time. So I've taken my table up there because I can move it from place to place. So fortunately, I've got that up there. So I get the half table set up front of stage, and Henry, bless him, has got the phone and he films it on his phone and he manages to get it all tied up so that it goes into, Jesus Christ, the man's a bloody genius, you know. But the only way I could save it was by absolutely major panic going on to get the simple things that I had asked for as what I needed to do my lecture. It's well known. So why wasn't it there? Why was it an accident? Was it bad communications? Was it kind of convenient to do it that way? What was going on? Now, at the end, bless them, they stood and cheered. And I cried because, you know, but so what? We're back to this question. What is going on? Why is the Chicago Magic Lounge the only place on the planet where they seem to treat people like me with any degree of kind of respect? You've had all of these people from the grassroots go, and thank you, grassroots people. Thank you. Yeah. But so why has the IBM been so hideous over the years? Serves them right now. I don't know their IBM meeting in a phone box. I rest my case. You know, they used to have 2,000-3,000 people at their convention. Don't anymore. Why is that? Because they don't have enough fun. Basically, they don't get people into, you know, can't have Fay Presto doing that bloody fringe supper. That's terrible. We've got to stop that. Let's have the Magic Elves. We'll give them we'll give them a flower arranging afternoon. We'll take them to look at the local scene. I don't know why it is.
I remember the first time I took my wife to Blackpool, and she looked at the program, and she said, "What the bloody hell is flower arranging and hat making here for?" I'm like, "You're a wife of a magician. I think that you're meant to go and do that." She was just furious. She was absolutely livid.
In an IBM meeting, not a Blackpool meeting.
Yeah, but that happened at Blackpool as well in the old days.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, it. Could I say maybe it's you know, you're asking why? I don't know. Throwing it out there, jealousy. You know, I know that magicians are jealous. Say again?
What have they got to be jealous of?
Again, we go back to the fact that you may say, I've not been on TV that much. You've been on TV. You've had a 40-minute documentary made of you. You've performed to more celebrities than I've probably ever seen. You've been in, the highest end restaurants, holding residencies for years and years. And some magicians, they're jobbing out, going out and doing next to nothing, and they're bitter. I've experienced that.
You can have what I want. You can have what I've got. I'll teach you about it. My penguin lecture, one of the worst selling penguin lectures ever. So I don't know what it is. If I'm really jealous of someone, then I might want to find out how I get what they've got. If I was a competitive dinghy sailor and somebody was winning all the races, I'd go and have a look at their boat and find out what they were doing that I'm not doing,
but that would but we've already established that you're the sort of person that will camp outside the Ned for a week, waiting for the right person to come in to just have a conversation with them. It's too much like hard work. It's easy.
Not hard work. That's sitting in a restaurant eating.
No, but finding out what somebody does because you're jealous of them, it's easier to sit around and bitch and moan to your friends and go, I have no idea.
Follow me round. And the loveliest thing that happened to me for ages was I've got to the end of a night's work in Langhams. I've got a table of, and I turn around, standing in the doorway is Teller. He's standing in the doorway. He's come to see me work. I'm in big trouble. I've got a table of 4 drunks and a 3-top. That's all I've got left. And he comes out, he watches, and one of these drunks, he's going, is that pen off? Is that pen? I said, no, it's somebody who looks a bit like his partner Teller. Now, what's the bloody magic? I dealt with the 3-top, and then about, 6 months later, I'm at the Ned, and I turn around, he's walked in to see that as well. And great. Oh, thank you. How flattering. What a nice man he is. Gosh, he's amazing.
Well, can I just say that I don't know, and again, we go back to this letter that you've mentioned a couple of times, or these letters, and this advice this unsolicited advice you've been given. Whoever has given you that advice, I'm sorry, but they don't have a candle to Teller. And this is a guy who is probably one of the busiest magicians on the planet.
I honestly, and I take that. Yes, absolutely. And the Tellers and the Topper Martins of this life who understood what I did, and I tell you where a really good time was in Sweden. In Sweden, oh boy, we had a great time. I was out there with Ben Hart, and they know how to organise it's just, I'm just so generous with everything. And they couldn't do enough to help you. So what is it? Why? I don't get it. I really don't. it's
Again, I'll go back to my wife, and she's somebody who has a background in teaching. She was a deputy head teacher for many years, and now she works in the entertainment industry with me. And she turns around to me and she says, I've never seen an industry like the magic industry before. She describes it as toxic. She says, as somebody who's come out of another industry and come into magic, just the stuff that I see, it's just completely toxic. And she just can't understand it at all.
I haven't got to spend many minutes on Facebook to see, the negativity and the awfulness. Now, I'm a bit negative myself sometimes, because it does seem to be that somebody who knows absolutely nothing comes on and wants you to give them an act. Or somebody starts festering around fishing for information. But mostly they're really being horrible to each other. Why are they so horrible to each other? Can't say anything nice, don't say anything. Shut up. It is what goes on the net is just evil sometimes. Is it? I think it comes back full circle. It's a power thing. And it is a lot of young boys especially go into magic because it stops them getting beaten up, and they think that it's this power. And if you're going to have power, you have to wield it with very great care and be careful and love people. But okay, who was it who said, you know, talk quietly but carry a big stick? There's something in that too. But talk quietly and be nice. Play nicely. Come on.
Yeah.
It is very odd. I find it. I've been shouted off the Magic Circle stage in public and kicked into the wings. And I've had all sorts of things happen. And yet there are lovely people in magic, and they come up to me at conventions and we have a nice time. And if I've been rude to anybody, forgive me. I've got the worst memory in the world. And I might have blanked somebody. And if I have, forgive me. I went into Joe Allen's one night, which is a big show business restaurant in London. It's lovely. We go to Joe's a lot. And I'm walking down the centre aisle, and this couple reach out to me and tug me on the sleeve. Oh, Fay, I haven't seen you since the wedding. And I'm thinking, oh, shit, what is this? Haven't seen you since the... Here's a clue. Here's a clue. Haven't seen you since the wedding. How long ago was the wedding? She said, August, you fool. I was the one on the white horse. And I blanked Sting and Trudy Styler. And I've done their wedding not 6 months earlier. I'm terrible. You know, people remind me, because it's not getting any easier either, but I've never had a good memory. That's why I'm a magician. That's why I don't do any card at any number. That's why I don't remember all these complicated things. I do simple stuff and do it to the best of my ability. And
I think that's an important lesson that people should learn, that you need to keep it simple. One thing that has defined you through your career is it's always been entertainment first. It's not about the trick or the sleight or the move or how complicated you can make it. It's like you've said through this interview several times. It's the entertainment. It's the effect on the customer. It's what you leave them with. You know, that's so important.
They have to be able to explain what you did in 5 words. It went through the table. I only thought about a card. To those, if they can, because mostly they're drunk when they're watching you anyway, so they've got to be able to put it into words. They've got to be able to remember what you did, and it's got to be simple. It's got to be, Jesus Christ, it was stuck to the ceiling. That's what they want. They need to be able to. They've got to be able to tell their mates what they saw. You know, and so. A gypsy thread is fabulous, because I've had people come up to me, open their wallet and take out a coiled up piece of cotton that I did for them 5 years ago.
Wow.
I'm in Langhams one night, and there's this sort of middle-aged bloke with a young man with him, and I'm thinking, oh, hey, hello. And he says, this is my son. No, it is my son. You did my wedding 30 years ago, and I've told him every day of his life what a bloody brilliant magician you are. Show him. No pressure.
Wow.
And I shall miss Langhams. I do hope someone rescues it. I really do. If not, I'll have to go and find another one.
Well, which brings me up to a question I want to ask you before all this gets wrapped up, which is, what's next? Because I know that you're not going to slow down. Let's just assume that the apocalypse doesn't happen. We make it through this in the next few months and life goes back to a certain degree of normality. What's your plans? Because
you can't have any plans. I mean, I'm no Ben Hart. I'm no Danny Buckler. I'm never going to get the big break. I'm at the end of my career. I'm 72 years of age. I'm gonna, I'm grateful for anything I get. If I can help some people out, I'll help them out. I cannot bear the thought of not being able to perform. I work on occasions with the most brilliant pianists. His name's Harry the piano, Paul Harry the piano. The guy is just, I can't tell you how good this bloke is. And I did a show at the beginning of the lockdown with Ben Hart. It was called the New Normal Festival. Oh, boy, did we have a great night. Now, if somebody wants to offer me a bit of that, I'll have a bit of that. We had Danny Buckler, we had Ben Hart, we had Harry playing the piano. I did Gypsy Thread, wasn't a dry eye in the house. Then we all got back together. We had Miss Ballooniverse doing balloons. It just came together. And to work with people like that, I'll have that any day of the week. I'll do that. Yeah, I'll have some of that. If anybody wants me to, yeah, I'll do 20 minutes for them, wherever. Well, I hope there's some fun about. Let's please, can we have some more fun? Because it's just the most wonderful thing in the world. When an audience applauds, and when an English audience applauds and rises to its feet, oh God, that is the most profound compliment that an audience can pay you. Not at the end of an opera where they're going to stand up anyway. Nobody stands up and applauds a magic show. Do in America. But when an English audience stands and applauds, and I'm sure you can. They know if you love them, don't they? They do.
Yeah.
I saw Mr. Daniels giving a little girl a tour of the theatre. It's dead cute. Gets this little girl up on stage and he's giving her a guided tour of the theatre. And, you know, up there is the flies. That's where the scenery all goes up. It's the wings where we stand to, you know, down there is the orchestra in the pit, best place for them. And then he looked out into the audience and he went, and out there, the enemy. Ooh. No, out there are my friends. Out there are the people that are going to love me and love you. Out there are the people who are going to, I understand how people will feel that there's a tension, but I don't want that tension. I want people to love me until and then I'm going to get buried at sea, because then all those magicians can come and dance on my grave. I don't know what's for me. What is there for you at this stage? Bloody hell, just slide down into decrepitude.
I think that you'll just be you'll carry on doing what you're doing, and you'll do it at the very highest level. You know, one thing that has come across to me in this whole interview, and I can sum it up in one word, which is passion. You are so passionate. You're so passionate. No, you are. You can tell that you love magic. You can tell that you love performing.
I hate magic. Honestly, if I could sing, I wouldn't bugger about with card tricks. I could do anything. I'd love to have been a trapeze artist or a dancer, all sorts of things. I can do magic, so I do magic.
Okay, let me change that to performing.
Well, this is it. Hang on. It's not that I love magic. I love what magic will do. I happen to use magic. But if I'd have done anything to make that 1,500 people in that audience think you're special, think you're lovely, think you're wonderful. Oh, God. And see, so that's what I love. I happen to use magic. I can't watch. I'm never going to watch this interview. And I'm sorry, I haven't watched any of the ones that you've done. Because I've got a bookcase over there, stuff full of magic books I haven't read. But I need enough from magic to know that it will do what I want it to do. And I love what it will do. And I love people. Mostly, apart from the ones who, you know, they made you look quite good. You don't get out of our club, you're a rude. You know, no, we're not going to help you. No, I don't know.
Well, let's wrap this up. I want to ask you one last question.
Gone on for a very long time.
Oh yeah, it's been amazing. I don't want it to end. I keep thinking I should wrap this up. No, I'm going to keep going. One last question. There's so many people who watch this channel that are new to magic, or they're struggling and they're at the start of their journey. If you could give everybody that's watching this one piece of advice based on the career that you've had, and you have had an amazing career, Fay, and I won't let you say anything else. Based on the career that you've had, if you could give everybody one piece of advice right now, what piece of advice would you give them?
Listen to your audience. don't listen to other magicians, listen to your audience. They will tell you if you're doing it right. They will tell you if you're doing it wrong. And so listen to your audience, and it doesn't have to be difficult. And they go, well, what props? A stand-up comedian doesn't have any props. So it's got nothing to do with the props. It's got nothing to do really with the tricks. I have seen somebody fry an audience with a piece of cotton that breaks up and goes back together again. And I've seen people bored to tears with it. I've seen people fry audiences with the simplest things. But listen to them, they will tell you. They will tell you at the end. Isn't that lovely, the fact that, you know, they will tell you if they've loved you. They will, yeah. Don't listen to magicians. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Let them if they, you know, when they say, I don't know what was going on, but the coins, they were undercards and they moved around a lot and they all arrived in the same place. Okay, there is a place for that. There is a place for that, performing it in front of a bunch of magicians who understand that you've done a coin matrix and it was brilliant. I mean, I want, there's that lovely Chinese woman, Ma Yan Yan. That's phenomenal. But look at what she's doing with her eyes. And look what she's doing with her face. And when you watch these manipulators and people disappearing up their own fundament, and then you see somebody like, I can never, who was it who won FISM? Juliana Chen, right? Now, when you see her work, watch her face. And she is loving you. And Ma Yan Yan is loving you. And she's reaching out across whatever is there and bringing you something that you can love. And that's what you do. Don't spend forever practicing. I know these card manipulators, they're very clever. But more important, I think, especially if you're not very good at it like I am, is to listen to your audience. What you're going to say, I don't know until I find out what they want to listen to. Now, there are places where you can go, where you can find an audience who wants to watch your 15 coin matrix or your any card at any number or your memorized deck or whatever it is that you're doing. And there are audiences that will love that. So you have to go and find them. It's not for me. I want an audience to tell me that we've had a good time. And it was on the ceiling. It was in the bottle. I do a card in bottle routine, right? Everybody goes, oh yeah, right, fine. I did it at the wedding. I get the bride and the groom to sign the card, shuffle it into the pack, lose it, can't find it, throw all the cards in the air, punch it into orbit with the bottle, you know, and I smash the bottle through the cards, and their card is square, dead, square in the middle of the bottle. Wow. Just a card in bottle trick. It's nothing difficult about it. You stick it in there when they're not looking. That's right. The rest is theatre. And then I give the bottle, pass the bottle around the top table, and everybody at the top table signs the label. And some idiot waiter cleared the bottle. And the bride insisted that every member of staff went out to the bottle bank and emptied it to find her bottle. And it's just a card in a bottle. You stick it in when they're not looking. And you use a plastic card because it springs out. Doesn't need to be a sealed bottle. It doesn't need to be a full bottle. It just needs to be their bottle off their table. Just needs to be their kind that they've signed. That she signed it, he signed it. The rest of the people at the table have signed the label. This is the most important thing she's taking home from her wedding. Or not. Maybe it isn't. Maybe what they really are going to take home is the best man's speech or the picture of the cake or whatever. Be a part of that. And so, although it's just a card in a bottle, it's not much of a trick, you know, it's not exactly hard. But it meant so much to that woman that she insisted that the bottle bank was emptied to find her bottle. She might still have it propping the door open. They might have divorced. She might have smashed it over his head. I don't know. But at that moment in time, it's the most important thing in the room. Great. When you find those tricks, hang on to them. They won't be difficult tricks. They will appear difficult. that's the advice that you take that advice. And the other thing is, it's very easy for me to find a top restaurant to work in because I live in a capital city. I don't know what happens if you live in Boondocks, USA. I don't know how you do it. I think you have to move. I don't know. I only know how to do it in London and in Columbus because I did it in Columbus.
So would you say, and I was going to wrap this up, but that leads me to another question. If somebody's wanting to, you know, get high-end residences and perform to the type of clientele that you've performed for, you'd advise making the leap and moving into like a place like London or New York, or
You're working for poor people, they don't have any money. So you've got to work for rich people. So you've got to find where the rich people go. And then, I mean, the most important person in my life is the guy who makes all my frocks. He's my best friend, and he's a brilliant stylist. He will not let me out unless what I'm wearing fits. And it's a difficult one. You have to pitch it at a level that is, it doesn't outshine them, but it is of their quality. And the best thing that ever happened to me was bumping into this guy who is my best friend, who makes the most stunning clothes. And, you know, to start with, I wore a tailcoat. Brilliant tailcoat, but he made me get a slightly better one so that it hung properly, and suddenly I'm there. And he won't let me out with the wrong jewelry. And he's brutally honest, and he'll say, "Why are you wearing that?" And, you know, if you don't mind looking like Margaret Rutherford, that's fine. But Ray makes it look at this pocket here for my thumbnail. There's a pocket here, goes this way. There's another pocket here, goes this way, because I need lots of pockets. And I work with Ray, and I mean, some of the clothes he's made me are extraordinary. They're just amazing. I've got a wardrobe full of them. But you've got to have the style, especially if you're going to go work for rich people because they're going to pay you better. You can't walk around looking like a tramp. Or you can, but you have to be a very studied tramp, and it has to. But they're not really going to love you that much. You've got to. Look at that. Hey, show them that. That is the most important thing in my life. That if my house burnt down, right? My house burnt down. That's coming with me. Somebody painted this portrait. But the coat and the look and everything that goes with it, the pearls are right, the earrings are right, the hang of the coat is right, the nails are right. It's just, and you need somebody who is brutally frank and is going to tell you when it's not right.
Yeah.
And kindly and gently tell you that it's not right, not tell you you're an idiot. And you've got to get people around you who are good and on your side, and you've got to isolate yourself from the people who are not. They still hurt you. They will still hurt you, but at least you've got some good people around who will help you and will you know. And you find these people, and you find the Henrys of this life, and you find the Ben Harts of this life, and you find them, and you cherish them, and you love them, and the rest you can just say.
And that's it. You've got so many people, and it goes back to the fact that I said you've got so many people that think so much of you, that, you know, the people in magic, or the people in the magic circle that are not very nice, say, or jealous, or whatever it may be, stuff them. Who cares?
Well, you do care, because they're kind of important, and it would be nicer if they did, if they were positive. It would be nicer if they were with us rather than against us. I'm sure they would enjoy it more too. They would have more fun.
Yeah.
And so, no, I don't wish the magic circle ill. I don't hate them. I'd like to love them. I'd like them to be a bit more lovable. But I don't hate the IBM, the International Brotherhood of Magicians. Should it be the International Siblinghood of Magicians? You know, there's all of that. There's got to be a bit more. I mean, people say to me, "Well, you don't fight for black people." Well, I can only do one at a time. You know, it's somebody else's fight to make sure that magic is not as white as it is. But it's got to be a bit more inclusive, and it's got to be a bit less. I don't know what it is. I don't hate magic, so but I'd love to love them.
Yeah. I can tell that. I really can.
There are. Make no mistake, there are some fabulous people there. I do seem to give the wonderful people a bit of a tough time, and they seem to love mediocrity sometimes and promote mediocrity, and that's get yourself an artistic director, please, and have fun.
You know what? That's something that you've said over and over again. Have fun. And I can tell that's really important. And you're right. Magic is about having fun.
There's no point in going out there in a restaurant full of people and not having fun, is there?
Yeah.
No point in arriving at a table with a zigzag and the bloke you're going to put in it isn't with us anymore. And there's no point in then going, oh, because nobody at the table will remember that, or they'll just say, actually, we should have been there the night it all went tits up. But if you go for it, and they're probably still talking about it now, and it's 30 years down the line.
Yeah.
Bloke said, I'll kill you. I said, no, give it a pull. I wasn't even very good at being in the zigzag. I'd love to have been. I mean, you know, that's what I would do if I was a girl coming into magic. I'd do stuff like that. But an awful lot of the girls have been taught by the blokes, and they've been taught to be. I was walking through an event once. We'd done multiple tables. And one of the girls, we'd been, I think there were 3 or 4 women, a couple of blokes on the job. And one of the girls said to me, Fay, how do I stop the girls thinking that I'm hitting on their men? I looked at her, said, put some bleeding clothes on. Because she'd been kind of advised to wear what she was wearing by somebody who didn't have her best interests at heart. Who didn't understand her business, you know, who just wanted to see get some clothes off. You know, I like that. It's a very short skirt. You just get your legs out, whatever. And so it's difficult to get the advice that's going to do you some good. A lot of the advice is not that advice. Thank God I found Ray. Thank God I found the people who would understand where I was going and where I needed to be, and that they are there. Harry, the pianist, is extraordinary. I use, you know, on my 50th birthday, he gave me a suite of music that's mine, and it's play on music. I've got the best piece of play on music there is. You just go, what the fuck's that going to happen here? Wow, something's going to happen. Oh, we like her. And find the people who are really shooting for you. Ben Hart's very good at this. He's got a good team around him. I think Darren Brown's probably got a good team around him. You know, you've got to find those people and cleave to them, and let's have some fun. Look, that was me, and I couldn't get arrested. Look at that, look.
One last thing, what you said there about you know, find the people that will give you the right advice. What advice would you give a young girl that's getting into magic? Somebody who's wanting to make it big. Is there any particular advice that you'd give them?
No, because I obviously don't know, because I haven't done that. But I think it's don't listen too much to magicians. Listen to artistic directors. Listen to people in the industry, and get advice from outside of magic, because a lot of the magic advice will be kind of designed to keep you down a bit. And learn about pockets. Girls don't know about pockets. God, they're so important. And I don't know what advice I'd give. I don't know what I would do if I was starting out now. I really don't. I'd probably learn to sing or be a dancer or something. I don't know. The beauty of magic is it does go on a long time. You can grow old fairly gracefully doing magic. Whereas if you're a trapeze artist, there's a cut-off point. Or if you're a dancer, there are some who can keep going, and you look at people like Geraldine Chaplin who keep going well into it. But and actors who go into age. So, but equally, while you've got the looks and the youth and the legs and the flexibility, use it, and enjoy it. It's really hard when you get old and you look back. So take those moments. And if you want to go off and have kids, go off and have kids. You don't have to, But there are some really talented. I mean, look at Tina Leonard. Now, they're always on about her janitor act. Nah, that's not the one. I saw her at an international magic convention, and she does a routine with a silk, tying it in knots and untying it, and then she has 2 huge linking rings, and that routine that she does with this silk and the rings, and is just beautiful. And Tina Leonard's no spring chicken, so you can keep going. You can have that. I doubt whether you'll get a theatre in Las Vegas for you to be into middle age, but there are things that you can do and be a great storyteller, be a great entertainer. There are things that you can do. Actors grow old, female actors grow old, and do it with great style and great class. I mean, look at Joanna Lumley and stuff. She's still having fun. So you can be there, but you have to find the people, and they won't necessarily be magicians.
That is great advice. Fay, you are amazing. I genuinely, and just so you know, ask Henry. I've made a reputation for myself of telling the truth to my detriment a lot of the time. So you can take it that I'm not have any other agenda when I say that I think you are absolutely fantastic.
Thank you for that. Because often when you put yourself in the firing line, there is a worry, and you have been absolutely what I needed.
You're amazing. You really are.
Right, should we go and worship next?
Fay, on behalf of the magic community and every member of the magic community, thank you for what you've done over the last 50 years and however long it's been. And you are brilliant. I really have appreciated you having this on the channel, and it's meant the world to me. So thank you so much.
The women who are coming through now, and there are a real little forest of them at the Carissa Hendrickses, at the Laura Londons, at the they're there. People will say, I'm in a mission. I had a list at one stage of 500 women who do magic, and some of them are just amazing and brilliant and just wonderful. And give them some space. And let's not have another Blackpool. Please. Let's not have another Blackpool with not one single solitary female magician in it. Yeah, you telling me that there's not one female magician on the planet who's not worthy of a place in the gala show? Of course there is. Don't have to have them all, and you don't have to have a flood of them, but let's put one in and give some of the women something to pitch for, something to aim for. Some of all those little girls who are at the magic convention with their dads and have been dragged along go, I could do that. Let's give them a little bit of space. They don't want you to open all the doors, but just there are some talented women out there. Use them once in a while.
That's a very important message, and I completely agree. I really do. Fay, thank you. You're amazing. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this interview.
Nice. It's been fun. Welcome to my home, such as it is.
It's a lovely home. And yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave a comment down below so that Fay can. Well, I know you're not probably going to watch this interview back, but if you get a chance,
partners.
But she might read the comments.
I will read all of those. Yes, I will read those with pleasure. Great.
So, guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you again. Take care. Bye, everybody.